So did you...
And then we stay in perpetual silence forever.
I had to give you a chance if you were going to open up with something.
Yeah, I feel like I do. This is not like a work thing. I just feel like I do a lot of the opens. I try to bounce them off you every now and again. Maybe I should just start saying it and be like, hey, man, why don't you have this one?
Yeah, we don't plan things, so.
No.
But yeah, I was just going to ask if you did anything yesterday for the 4th.
Yeah, I did. I watched Spider-Man, the Far From Home movie.
Nice.
Aside from doing a whole lot of nothing and enjoying the time off, which as an old person, that's you enjoy that. I kind of want to know right off the bat if you have seen Spider-Man Far From Home yet.
I have not.
Oh no. That means I can't talk about it. I could try to do a little bit of spoiler-free talk later in my week, but oh man, you got to see that movie. It's very good.
Yeah, I totally spaced on it being so soon.
Yeah,
it's kind of snuck up on me after the big ones. Didn't expect anything for a while.
Yeah, but as far as actual holiday like 4th of July stuff, it was usually my wife's family does something, or some family will do something like some kind of cookout or something. But we didn't get any calls or anything. So, which, I mean, it's a positive and a negative. I mean, it's a negative because you don't get to see family or whatever, but it's a positive because it's a day off, especially with my current work schedule. It was the first day off I've had in a bit. So, well, I think last week I had a day off. It just doesn't feel like it, if that makes any sense.
I hear you.
But most of the day was just playing games and biding my time, and then we went and saw the movie. We went out to eat afterward, but yeah, we heard the fireworks going on outside after we left the theater, and we went to eat and a little bit of late night shopping for whatever, but it was just a day off.
Yeah, I think I've been hearing pretty fireworks here for about a week now.
Yeah. It's crazy how, I mean, business-wise, I guess, but it's like they start popping these stands up like 2-3 weeks, maybe even a month out. And, I mean, if you ever forget there's a holiday coming up like that that celebrates by popping fireworks, something's coming. But we have a lot of fireworks areas or businesses that do it. Like, I mean, all the casinos down here, I think they pitch in. Somebody puts on a huge fucking fireworks show down here. I don't know who, but they got some good stuff. But I mean, I've seen them when I was a kid. Seen them when I was a teenager. Not trying to be a fuddy-duddy. I mean, whenever we have kids, I'm sure we'll take our kids to fireworks and zoos and festivals and stuff like that. But
no, I don't think the rabbits would appreciate it.
Kind of good. No, we would leave them at home. Oh man, well, I say we just get right into it then.
All right.
I don't really have a lot of banter today that I can think of. I mean, I'm drinking lemonade tea. That's about it. What, any new stuff come up this past week? Caught your eye?
It's actually been pretty quiet. I mean, the big thing this past week, the two big things, the 14 expansion and then Mario Maker 2. That's kind of been my focus and what I've seen everybody else focus on. I actually went through some news earlier and I was like, it's dry. There's nothing worth talking about.
Yep. And well, I mean, that may be, as far as 14 goes, that may be good. Do you have quite a bit to discuss on Final Fantasy 14?
Yeah, some of the, we talked a bit about the patch notes last week before the game had went live. So now I've seen some of that. firsthand and able to tell exactly or have a rough idea at least of what that means for the game.
We'll save it for your week then.
Sure.
Yeah, man, I can't think of much either. Just something that lightly passed over me, and I can't believe I guess because I haven't been doing a good enough job paying attention to it. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night did release, if not last week, maybe the week before, and I have not picked it up yet because it's a brand new release. I want to say it's like a $30 title, maybe $40. I mean, if it's $60, I wouldn't doubt it. But I mean, we've all been hearing snippets of Bloodstain over the past couple years, so that game apparently is actually finally out. I don't know why I was expecting it to have a large to do, but that thing kind of ghost released around me, and I just found that so crazy. I was like, whoa, this game is out now? Wow.
So
okay.
I think what I've seen is it came out, people jumped on it and played it, and I've heard nothing but positive things about it, and then it just kind of faded.
Yeah. Which seems to be a trend lately with a lot of games, man. A case in point, let me see. I was looking at some stuff here real quick. So June 18th, 2019 is when this game was released. So yeah, a couple weeks ago. And I was trying to see a quick price, but oh well, not that important. Case in point was Devil May Cry 5. Ever since it was announced that E3, I mean, there's a lot of positive talk around it, and for good measure, good reason. I mean, it's a damn good franchise, and to see the creator there, that team working on it was so focused, and they had such passion, and so fucking throwing the horns up. Fuck yeah, this game is coming. And I swear, I had it pre-ordered, so I had it along with everybody else that had it pre-ordered or bought it day one. And I played it. It seemed like a week or two went by, and that game just fucking disappeared. And that's kind of crazy, man, because that game has such... Devil May Cry 5 is one of those games that's technically above me because it has so much to offer. It is it's an action combat gamer's fucking dream come true. There are so many weapons, there are so many extras, there are so many combos, so many varieties, and there is such an attention. It's like fighting level difficult to master type skills put into a action combat game. I mean, technically it is fucking awesome, but that game just came in, it got played, it got talked about for a hot minute, like maybe a week or two, and then it just fucking disappeared in the aether. And it's like a trend lately for, I guess, shorter games like that. Like if you got a 10, 15, 20 hour game, even if it's great, that thing gets talked about for a while, a little bit, and then it's gone. Now, I think... go ahead.
You know what else we haven't talked about? GDQ.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know you're not caught up on it, but
yeah, that's part of my week. But I mean, it literally isn't much at all because I've watched so far maybe about 10, maybe 15 top runs, and I'm slowly in the process of watching those. So I'm behind the curve when it comes to GDQ. Fun fact that you bring that up though. I discovered that there was a remastered. Well, I think that game's been around for a while actually. Blaster Master Zero is a game. I think that game originally came out on Steam. Sorry, not Steam. I think that was a 3DS title. I'm frantically typing stuff in as I go through this, but let's see. This game originally came out for Nintendo 3DS and the Nintendo Switch, and now Windows. I found my copy on Steam. So the original game came out in 2017, worldwide, March 9th, 2017. That's a couple years old. Excuse me. Apparently, it got released on Steam, and I had no idea. So I was watching GDQ, and they were running Blaster Master, and somewhere in the run, they go like, "Yeah, by the way, the remaster Blaster Master Zero was released on Steam. So if you haven't picked it up, go pick it up." And I was like, I think I bought and downloaded like the digital copy of that game for the 3DS. I didn't go verify. It was either the 3DS or the Switch. I have it on one of those two. And I went to Steam, and there it was, just fucking $10, just sitting there. Wow, well, shit. Oh, thank you, GDQ. Mm-hmm. One small thing that I picked up from GDQ. But yeah, you are right. And I mean, but I feel like it's such a weird, not a weird thing, but it's such a backpedaling thing when we talk about GDQ now, because I feel like we want to push GDQ forward, and we do. You know, we talk positively about it. We try to push it to people that don't know about it. I do it, man. I do it even in my at my job. I've talked to people, be like, "Have you heard of GDQ?" And I just get that blank stare, like, "Oh, blah 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 blah," and stuff they don't care about. Oh, you know, it's all for charity, and they're like, "Oh, okay, well that's pretty cool." But you and I have seen several years of GDQ now. I mean, we've said this multiple times, but I mean, part of the reason why we haven't talked a lot about GDQ this year, besides me still catching up to it, is that once you've seen it, I mean, there's not a whole lot they can do now, a whole lot that they can do new that we haven't seen already. I'm saying that now as somebody who's only watched 10 to 15 runs. Maybe there's some more stuff they added this year I haven't got to yet. Even if it's one run that they change or add something to or make this new gimmick thing, that is enough for me to have something to talk about.
Yeah, I was actually just looking back to try to see what day we recorded, because we kind of recorded while GDQ was going on, because I remember we did talk a little bit about it.
A teeny bit, yeah.
But yeah, I didn't watch a whole lot after that either. I'm trying to think, had the relay happened? I think it did, right? Yeah, because I was talking about the incentives, I think.
I think it had happened that day.
Yeah.
I think I was at work, and I was like, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Right now. Oh, I'm at work. Oh, no.
Yeah. But yeah, the Mario block is still the highlight of GDQ for me. I didn't even watch the last half a day or so. I didn't even bother pulling it up. Especially once I think they closed out Final Fantasy VI or something like that. One of the Final Fantasies was really long. I was like, all right, I'm done with GDQ then.
So the last capping that I see, and it was weird how the videos ran weird to me, because I don't know if maybe I just haven't seen this done before, but like the video list, the playlist for it has SGDQ 219 finale video, but it has like 2 more videos after that. So I don't know if they met some incentive, or maybe the finale just got downloaded and released, early, and then they downloaded more or released later, which that actually makes sense, because it seems like the last 2 games in the run is Link to the Past plus Super Metroid combo randomizer, and then Chrono Trigger. So
I think Chrono Trigger was last, not a Final Fantasy. It was an RPG, is what I remember. But I remember watching that combo a little bit, and that's when I tuned out. I was like, okay, this is kind of interesting, and then I moved on.
Yeah, it's like Pokemon, and then Ocarina of Time, and then the randomizer, and then I think Chrono Trigger was the cap of the year.
I was surprised Ocarina was so short. I watched part of it, but the expected time, I was like, that seems short even for that game. I guess it was a lot of glitches in that one. Yeah.
And hey, this is good to talk about GDQ period, even if, maybe somebody didn't, this is somebody's first episode for all I know, but we've discussed what we consider GDQ, and that's, when I see a run like that, it's, Ocarina of Time ran in 19 minutes. I don't care for those as much. I think the glitches are cool. And if you have a good enough commentator that adds enough flavor to it when they're explaining the glitch, they can be interesting. But GDQ or not, my preferred viewing for somebody speedrunning a game is pretty much glitchless, sometimes even like exploitless.
Yeah.
Like if you take Mega Man, for example, you speed run Mega Man 3. I want to see you go from boss to boss to boss, whether you use the weapons or not. I want to know which is the fastest way to beat it. So if 2 out of 3 bosses or 2 out of 8 bosses, it's faster to use a Mega Buster, then go ahead. That I don't care about. But I want to see you do all 8 bosses, and I want to see you run through the Wily Castles. I want to see you defeat the big bosses, and then, all the way. I like that. If there's some glitch where when you press this stupid button sequence at the beginning, it takes you all the way to the last fight and you beat the game in like 2-3 minutes, that's not really what I want to watch. That's not entertaining to me. I get it. I get that it's cool and interesting. I mean, the same premise goes back to this is something else that made it into my like personal life, like my work life. If you remember a couple years ago, if I recall, it was a couple years ago, there was a big thing to do on Facebook about, and probably other social medias as well. It wasn't just a Facebook, but that's where I saw it. It was like, hey, somebody beat Super Mario World in some stupid time, like 4 or 5 minutes or something. And a couple people asked me about that, and I had to be that guy to be like, well, it's not really beating the game per se. You see, there's a weird bunch of tricks they do. Like it's the way that the inner coding of the game works. And I mean, they're just fucking cross-eyed at this point. They don't want to hear about grabbing a turtle shell, and if you grab it in 0.5 seconds, it makes the code do this and it changes it. Like, they don't want to hear about all that shit. They want to hear like, wow, are you kidding me? Because I remember I had Super Mario World. How does somebody beat this game like under 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever it was? Yeah. And it's not, oh man, they were so fucking skilled. They went through every level front to start. They did 100% of the game, didn't take any damage. They executed every jump, everything flawlessly, and they beat the game in this time. It's like, no, it was a bunch of weird inner game code, microchip code manipulation bullshit.
Yeah, the Super Mario World 96X run is only an hour and a half, and I actually tuned in for part of it. And the part of it I tuned in, they were glitching through a level to where they were going through like the wall underneath. And I was like, okay, that's not as interesting. I'm sure there's still good things to see. It's probably interesting in other parts. And it was a race too, which would have added a little bit more to it. But I was like, I already saw the, Kaizo relay thing. So I'm good.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's all about the amount of flavor too. It's about how much it is. I've seen ones where, if like Super Mario World, it said they have 96 levels. They only glitched like 4 of the 96 levels. Okay, I could probably deal with that. But when it's like it's level 1 through 9 on this classic NES game, we beat level 1. It's within like 20 seconds. We get to level 2. We do this glitch. We're now at level 8. I'm like, oh, that gameplay missed, So, but those aren't all over the place. Thankfully they're spread out enough. And I mean, hey, I'm saying what I prefer. I'm saying what I like to see. I'm saying what entertains me. There is no doubt that those glitch things have incentives too. People donate money and want to see them do this crazy shit. And yeah, it's fine. But I like to watch somebody that just fucking stomps a game. I love seeing people that just, they're going through a side-scrolling platforming game. Like they're going through Sonic, taking absolutely no damage, hitting all these like almost pixel perfect platform jumps and getting all these timings correct. And, but see, that leads to a further question of what you find entertaining, because, or maybe what you would consider skill. Yeah. If you, and Chris, you have a perfect prime for this because you've recently done this. If you go through the first level of a game and you play the first level of a game for, say, 3 months straight, and you master every single jump, every single trick, you know when to pick up what power up, when to jump on what enemy, when to throw the hammer at what enemy, yada, yada, yada. Is it really skill or is it memorization? Because look at a game, look at a relay race. Those are, okay, they're all ran by speedrunners, but somebody went and made this level, excuse me, that they've never been in before. So I'm gonna loosely say they're blind to it, because there's another caveat to even that statement. Yes, a person made it, but typically it's not just a person. It is also a speedrunner. So you hand that level to me, and I'm gonna go 4 steps and not be able to make any progress, and I'm gonna look at you crazy like, what the fuck am I even supposed to do?
Yeah.
And they take the controller and go, oh, let me show you. It's the trick flip shell backstep jump. You got to do that. That leads into a quad flip 1-2. Then you got to do the reverse Mario ollie. That takes you to the Goomba flap jump. And it's like, oh, okay. So it's blind, but it's blind. It would be completely blind if you hand it to somebody that does not speedrun Mario. But if a Mario, so yeah, go ahead.
Here's the thing. I'm talking about the relay specifically. There are things in the relay that were never done before. So this was really blind. That's one of the reasons it was so good. Is because there were some mechanics that have been used in ROM hacks, so there is some, familiarity. And then there were mechanics that this is their debut. They had like a couple dozen people working on these levels. I want to say there were seven levels or something like that. So, but even though there were only 7 levels and each level had a primary person that made it, there were, a couple dozen other people working behind the scenes on the code to make these things work and all that, working on the music, etc. So, yeah, and there is a certain, familiarity to it. Okay, well, when you just do a shell jump, all right, everybody there knows how to shell jump. So, in a situation like this specifically, it was nice to see it really come down to execution and being able to figure out the new mechanics and stuff like that, what to do in the level, because there's a certain amount of problem solving you have to do to figure it out, just like playing a puzzle game almost. Where it's like, all right, how do I solve this? And that can sometimes be just as important as being able to execute it, because you have to be able to figure out and determine, all right, this is the route I should take. But yeah, and in general, memorization, sure, that's part of it. But it's worthless if you don't have the skill to execute. There is a skill to it. I think I'll leave it at that. There is a lot of skill to it.
Yeah. Well, all in all, I still love GDQ, man. I'm still a fan of it. I still get excited when I see it announced. I still look forward to the schedule. I've gotten better over the past couple instances of not completely pouring over it. I like to be surprised a little bit, but I mean, the schedule's there. Not a whole lot of surprise unless you just completely don't look at it. And it's also nice to see, in general, GDQ as a whole. It's nice to see how it has progressed over the years. I think was it AGDQ this year that did the whole like little promo video ahead of time or at the beginning, and it showed like, look, man, this shit started with like 20, 30 people in a basement.
I didn't showed see that,
progress
so
over. Yeah, and it's nice, man. It's also another little hidden thing that I look for, whether it's no matter what GDQ it is, ADGQ or SGDQ. I like to see what things are they trying this time? Mm-hmm. A lot of them are super cheesy. A lot of them are super corny and super nerdy. I get that, but that's our people that's doing that. So it's fine. The people that do this weird, out there, crazy, cringe shit. I mean, you got 7 days, 24/7. Somebody's gonna do something stupid, but I try to look for and listen for, like, okay, how are they setting their cameras up this time? Or what quality cameras are they using? Or does the audio seem different? Does it seem like they've done something new to the format? And for the most part, this year, SGDQ, from what I've seen, is pretty much standard the same.
Yeah.
And that's fine, man. It's a charity thing. This thing does not have to be grandstanded. The more money that gets put into making this some, Game Awards level of production, that's kind of sort of starting to defeat a little bit of the purpose, because now you got money going to production and not to the charity.
That's always a balance that has to be struck in something like that.
Yeah.
I will say that during it was the Grand Puro 2 run, actually, they had a technical issue where the game was freezing.
Oh, no.
And it was a known good cartridge. And, Mitch Flower Power, who is running the game, he tried a couple different things, making sure that he wasn't just, replicating the exact same scenario. It wasn't a set of frames that were causing the issue. And after a couple tries, he was like, all right, can we switch out the SNES? And just like that, someone walked over, unplugged the cables from the back, set another one down, plugged them in, switched over the cart, turned it on, and then went back to the game.
Wow.
It was like a 30-second interruption to the run. And it was that kind of support, they've improved drastically over the years, and it's sometimes not what you see on screen or even, from a visual perspective, it's how they're running it that they've improved. And you see these, the care that goes into making sure things run smoothly. So.
I would absolutely love to see a documentary done about the behind the scenes of GDQ. There's probably some out there already. I just never looked for them, but that has always fascinated me.
I don't know what part it was, but I looked over and they were actually showing behind the scenes stuff in between some runs.
Oh,
so they were like, yeah, these are the monitors. You could see like 18 different scenes set up for them to switch between for whatever they were doing. And, the computers and stuff, where they were playing the PC games and stuff were all in the same scene. It was like, a table over was where they were actually playing. So it's not like all the tech is hidden in a room, off to the side. It was literally, you don't see it on screen, but it's right next to what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so much care and work that goes into all that stuff. You got to think, man, there's multiple consoles, multiple generations of video games, multiple inputs that have to be taken into account, plus the live streaming, the live recording, all the audio issues, all that stuff. Yeah, there is genuinely a solid team of people there making that shit happen. And man, mad props go to them. And man, when you are watching a run and you see somebody have a technical issue, you're like, oh shit. And most of the time, over majority of the time, a large majority of the time, it's just, all right, well, we had a little snafu. Let's go ahead and reset the run. I don't have a list on hand of all the times it's happened where it's been like, more than half an hour or more than an hour. But I don't know if many have been that long in. I do remember, wasn't it AGDQ this year of the guy that was running that PC game and it fucked up at the end almost, and he was like, yeah, well, the run's over now. I've made this completely unsolvable state. I cannot go forward. Run's over. I was, oh man, I felt for that dude.
Yeah, you overrode his state.
Felt so bad. Oh, it was not you fucked up. It was like, oh, wow, you went that far and something just fucked up.
Yeah.
There was a relay race, wasn't it? If it wasn't a relay race, it was just a race period. The Super Mario, like super race or whatever.
So Mario Brothers 3, This was last year's GDQ, I believe. SGDQ, I should say. Mm-hmm. Where Mitch Flowerpower, I was just talking about, and Grand Pooh Bear were racing. At one point, Grand Pooh Bear, he died, so he kind of stomped the ground, and that locked up Mitch's console.
Oh,
so
no.
So they let him catch up, and then later on, near the end, this is in the last 10 minutes of the run, something else happened. Don't know if this one was Pooh again or not, but it seemed like wherever they had the consoles were not sturdy. I think they were actually on the ground or something. Anyway, It happened again. So Mitch ended up doing one of those glitches to get to the basically last world or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Obviously, I think Pooh finished first because, he didn't have to deal with that. But that's one of the reasons they redid, or they were hoping to do the race again this year, and it was an incentive. And there were a couple other guys in there that I don't even know because I don't follow the Mario Brothers 3 scene.
Yeah.
But really what it came down to was getting that rematch between Mitch and Pooh to kind of settle last year.
Yeah. And that happened this year at this SGDQ, right?
Yeah, the 4-person race. That was an incentive. Yep. All 4.
I'm working my way.
Yep.
And again, it's the devastation of that. You could see the look on his face the first time it happened. He was like, oh, fuck, no, what did I do? Oh, no. And everybody around him was like, hey, man, it's okay. It's okay, man. We'll fucking get you through this. We'll get you back where we were. Everything's okay. And he was like, I'm so fucking sorry. And they're like, no, man, it's okay. And then they fucking went on and this shit happened again. And he was even more I did not think he could look more devastated, but he looked more devastated. But everybody around him was like, man, shit happens. It's okay.
Yeah.
And you have to,
he has not lived it down either. Throughout the entire race, all the commentary about it, he was part of the blind Mario World Kaizo hack race. And even there, they were like, watch out, other team, don't let them near your console type stuff. It was, man. But he takes it like a champ. He owns it,
Yeah. And at the end of the day, the charity still went on. I mean, they still made money. And I think I would feel that the audience would probably donate a little bit more just to be like, hey, it's okay. They made a fair good amount of money. And they typically always do with these races. And even though I've seen a few of them, it's still another thing that I look forward to watching is the spectacle type of runs, playing a game one-handed, having a game played with one controller, but 2 people controlling that one controller, all that stuff, man. I think it was last year. It might have even been AGDQ this year where it was, hey, I'm going to take a fellow speedrunner through this game that they've never played, and I'm basically going to teach them how to speedrun this game. That was fucking interesting. Now, again, that's going to be considerably easier for a speedrunner because when they start telling them things that they're already familiar with, like, yeah, you're going to just think of like a skip jump right here. Oh, okay. It's still fun.
Yeah.
But it is still fun to see that because they're like, I've never played this. And they're like, well, here you go. Here's how to become a fucking master at this game. I like that.
Yeah. Any blindfolded run. That just blows my mind.
And again, I don't know. This is as if I needed more shit to watch, Chris. You saw my fucking message on Discord of how much shit I have to watch. But as if I needed more, we've also brought this up as well in the past that GDQ is not alone, and we're not trying to pretend. I will not make it out to be that, oh, GDQ is the first, the only, there's nothing else out there. There are so many communities of speedrunning events out there. It's almost like other countries have their own.
Yeah, I think there's a Europe equivalent of GDQ.
Yep.
ESA, European Speedrunners, something, I think.
Something, yeah. There was the one that was almost dedicated to nothing but RPGs. I forget which one that was. But yeah, I mean, this is. I will tell you that I have not gotten so granular that I will watch like a Twitch person working their way through a game, and I'm not downing that at all. If that's what you like, watch what you like. I'm just saying I have a lot of shit to watch, but that level I don't get down into. But when I found these events where all this shit's going on, oh man, I have to add it to another fucking list of shit that I want to watch.
RPG
And
Limit Break is the one that's dedicated to RPGs.
There we go. So if there's some other speedrunning event that happened in fucking 2003 and that was the first time a blindfold run was done, I don't care who did it first. This just happens to be something that this is like mainstream speedrunning venue watching for me. And this is where I see all this stuff happen.
And the European one is European Speedrunner Assembly.
Nice.
So if you're into speedrunning, go check out both of those. I don't follow them as closely, but I do poke in from time to time and see what's going on with them as well. Yeah.
So you have... you said we hadn't talked about GDQ, and here we are. So much can make or break a GDQ run for me as far as watching and entertainment goes. If I am interested in the game enough, if it's like a mainstay game that I know and I love and I play, I'll watch it regardless. If the commentary is meh, I'll still watch it. If I've never heard of the game before, and this has happened a couple times, last year, if I've never heard of the game before, I'll give it a try. That commentator starts drawing me in within the first 2 or 3 minutes, I'm sold. I'll watch it all the way.
Yeah.
If you're a fairly unheard of, unknown, the game looks kind of boring, it's not in my interest, not in my wheelhouse game, and your commentary is meh, skip.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal because there's a shit ton of runs to watch, but yeah.
Yeah. Cluster Truck. That was one that fit into the first. It was like, okay, I know what this game is, but they had a good commentary. So I was like, okay. And I stuck around to almost the very end.
Yeah. And there are runs, I did no homework on this, so I'm completely unprepared. But there are some runs where, okay, think of everything involved in what's going on. I mean, even at the GDQ level, you are in a live venue surrounded by, if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, you may be surrounded by 4 people. Or if it's fucking Saturday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you may have 300 people behind you. You're in a live venue with all these people watching you and saying these weird random things and orb and fucking killed animals or whatever the fuck they're saying. You got that going on. You have the mental knowledge that your shit's being streamed live on multiple applications. So potentially hundreds of thousands, if not millions, probably millions are watching you. All this stuff going on. You are mentally trying to keep a quote unquote shit. What's the pace? Not world record pace, but like damn it. What is it? A charity run, like charity pace, a safe strats and stuff like that.
No,
or yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say marathon friendly.
Marathon, yes, yeah. Got to keep a marathon safe or charity safe or whatever. Or you may be thinking, man, I'm fucking practice rounds today were solid. I've got this shit. I'm greased up. I'm going, and you're trying to go for a world record pace or even a PB, a personal best pace. So that I see all that, the amount of pressure that's there, the amount of, and I mean, I say pressure because, man, these people have been playing these games for several years. and most of them have probably been streaming their work and attempts and all that live. They're probably so used to people, that's out of their mind. But I gotta think that there's a good portion that is stress. That is fucking. So there are times, yes, when somebody's doing a jump and they'll ask for stuff like, hey, keep it quiet for just a minute while there's an audio cue, or I really have to concentrate for this. And those are times where I'm like, man, I don't know how you're doing it. I fucking bravo. I don't know how you fucking, but yeah, that was a sub pixel jump. And let me look at my watch. 39 minutes into this run. And if I didn't make that sub pixel perfect jump, I would have added another 3.5 minutes to my run. The run would have been killed. And it's like, wow, I don't know how you do that. The other thing that I don't know how some of these do, and it's only a handful I've found, but they're out there. Look for them, audience, I promise you, is when you have a commentator and a couch full of goddamn hilarious people, and all they're doing is laughing. They're making all these jokes and the fucking audience is laughing and people are writing in funny ass comments and donations, and they are rolling and they are still performing. They're still, I don't know how the fuck they do it. I wish I had a prime example. I don't. I know there was one GDQ this year, and there was definitely one last year where I was watching, like, I half cared about what the fuck the game was. I was listening to the commentary and I was fucking dying. And I'm watching, I'm like, they're fucking cutting up like crazy, but they're still on the run. They're still speed running like it's nothing. Those are little gems as well that I look for in these runs.
You know what else the commentators do? They introduce themselves and stuff. Is that going over your head?
Let's see. Let me think. Is there a...
We haven't done an intro.
The whole... damn it, Chris. I was going to get into it. I was trying to roll more into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the end of time. I'm Michael.
And I'm Chris.
Yeah. So I really want to stress this. I feel like I stress this every time we bring GDQ up, but you have to understand, anytime that Chris and I, if we ever come across as sounding meh, and I'm saying that because that's as far as I will admit to sounding like, if we ever seem like meh when it comes to GDQ, it's only because we have seen multiple. You gotta, audience, you gotta figure there's at least 2 GDQ events every year, and this shit's been going on since fucking 1973. There's 130, 150, 170 runs every GDQ, times 2, times every year we've seen it. So, all I'm saying is once I have seen Contra run for the 26th time, if a new strategy has come out and all they did was shave off 27 seconds, I'm not really seeing a whole lot brand spanking new. And sometimes you get lucky, you'll see new runners, so you will see fresh perspectives. You'll hear somebody else's commentary. You'll see somebody else's strategy. And just the general, okay, last year I saw this guy run Jack and Daxter, and he did this. This guy is running it this year. He's not doing that strategy, and he is saying up and down he can shave off 3 seconds. Okay, now I'm seeing a whole new area that got blown over last time. Oh, and it is faster. So there may be times where we have talked about GDQ and it's been like, yeah, it is. I've already seen it. But you, audience, if you've only seen a couple, or especially if you haven't seen any GDQ event, highly encourage you to go find one. It's real simple to do. Super simple. Go to YouTube, which is also a place where you can find our podcasts. Just throw that out there. But go to YouTube, type, what the current year is, or even the previous year, GDQ, and when the results come up, go to the playlist. and go to the filters and select a playlist. Go down that playlist. Does that game interest you? Is there a game in there that you like to play? Watch that. That's as simple as it gets. That's where it started for me. I don't know what my first watch was, but that's how I even started watching any speedrunning thing. Oh, they're running Mega Man 4? Fuck yeah, I'll watch that. Oh, they're running Mega Man X? Yeah, I'll watch that. Oh, they're running Ratchet and Clank? I'll check that out. Mario 64? Sure. And on and on and on. And for me, it evolved from, let me watch these 10, 20, 30 games from GDQ to like, fuck it, I want to watch the whole thing. There are games that are slow in nature. There are games that have a lot to watch and a lot to unpack. And there are some mega games like RPGs like Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VII, etc. That, I mean, they are, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hour runs. If that's not your bag, you don't have to. I watch most of them just out of pure respect. I've watched every single Final Fantasy VI run. So even if I've seen that 4 times, I've seen damn near the same shit. And I've played Final Fantasy VI multiple times. That's just a respect thing for me. I just like to watch them just because a top RPG of the entirety of video games is being played. There are times where I find games where I have no fucking idea what this looks like, a Steam indie game. And like I said, I'll start watching it and the commentary will be fucking great. The personalities will be great. The couch will be great. In general, this GDQ is something to check out. I realize speedrunning is in the grand scope of the gaming world, it is a somewhat smaller pocket of folks. But if you want what could arguably be considered the cream of the crop when it comes to watching speedrunning, GDQ's where it's at. And at the end of the day, it's supporting charity. I mean, that's fine for me. Chris, personal question. Sure. You don't have to give a dollar amount either. Have you ever donated to GDQ?
Yeah, a couple times.
Have you had your comment read?
No.
Okay. Oh man,
I don't.
I have donated as well, and I hoped it would, but it never hit, and it was still. I'm like, yeah, okay, it didn't get read, no big deal.
Yeah, I don't bother. I don't even try. I'll just put some comment, and then I'd be like, hey, and that's it. I don't write anything worth reading because
I realize.
Yeah, I don't care.
I realize I just flew that fucking plane into the sunset with fucking gold streamers and tassels and people fucking doing disco on top. Happiness and great stuff. But let me roll it back to negativity town for a hot minute because I wanted to ask this earlier and I completely forgot. Are there any runs? What are some of your least favorite runs, if you can think of any? And it could be because the runner was bad, the game was shit, the run itself was shit. It could be that the audience was being fucking ridiculous. It could be the runner and the couch was being ridiculous. Like, are there any ones you could think of at the top of your head was been like, yeah, this sucks?
Really just commentary. Like I mentioned last week, there was this one runner who was, running early in the morning. So he had very few people there and he wasn't very happy. In general, and it came across with his commentary. He made a comment like, that's what you get for running not very popular game at early in the morning, something like that. I was like, all right, well, I don't want to listen to you whining, so I'm gonna go do something else.
Yeah, not very PC thing to do, man. Again, I'm the one asking the question. I don't really have an answer either. But again, this is off the cuff like most things in a Timecast, so I didn't do any homework. I'm unprepared. But I don't have the run. I don't even have the year. I don't have the year. I don't have which one it was, and I don't have which run it was. But there was one where, and the audience itself was the problem for me. The audience was just being just too much. It may have been one of the orb ones. I feel like that may have been one. But yeah, the audience was just a bit too unsufferable.
Are you thinking of the Waluigi thing?
Maybe.
The wah.
Maybe.
That was
yeah.
so annoying.
Now, I'm a easy breezy, go have fun kind of dude, man. I'm all about audience participation like that, and I get it. I'm all for the audience stuff where, you know, they're saying things. But even I have my limits. If there is a game that you're playing and the fun thing to do is to shout orb, but there's only like 6 times an entire game that's going to happen, cool. All about that. But when you fucking know there's a game where orbs are going to come on the screen like 76 times, that my patience gets tested.
Yeah, that's
because I'm listening to the commentary and I'm trying to hear what they're saying, and you just got 60 people in the background going orb, and then you can hear the runners being like, you guys.
Yeah, the orb one is one I actually have been intending to Google it because I don't understand why that's a thing, because there's always some start of it, you know.
Yeah, and
I don't know why that's a thing, and it's something that the speedrunning community has just embraced.
Yeah,
I don't understand it.
Yeah, and this is definitely, again, trying to curve it back a little bit more toward the positive. This is not all the time, and it may be completely different for you. It's audience. This may be something that just blows off you and you don't care. I'll tell you. You know what? I don't have much to say about it anymore because it's already done, and I'm not trying to change the subject. GDQ is fucking great, audience. Please go check it out. Go support it. Donate money if you can. It goes to charity, and that's awesome. But I don't know if we brought this up. I feel like we may have mentioned it and skimmed over it. But what conference, Chris, was it this year? E3 conference, where the fucking audience was just
every single one of them. That's which one. Oh my god! And I was actually about to bring that up too once we kind of shifted off GDQ, because I don't think we talked about that. Yeah. And that was the most annoying thing throughout the entire conference. Yes. And it got worse when Keanu came out. Someone, yelled, "I love you" to him and whatever. They actually gave that person something, a free game or something. Cyberpunk devs did, I think.
Don't encourage that, man.
So, yes. So, it just got even worse once that went out, because the people were like, oh, well, I can get free stuff. And it was horrendous.
Okay. Let me get the anti-fuddy-duddy shit out the way right now. Because exactly like I said earlier, I am the go fun guy. I'm all about that. I could totally understand if you are a cyberpunk dude, this is your fucking hot to do game and you're waiting for it, and you see this fucking Keanu Reeves thing like, oh my god, and then Keanu walks out on stage and you lose your shit. I could see that. I'm not a fucking asshole. I get that. Who only have a passing observance understanding of Metro would see that, and then see Keanu Reeves live on fucking stage, I would scream. I get that. But when you give somebody a fucking reward for that, that incentivizes everybody. What the fuck can I get? What can I do? I don't agree with that. What I also don't agree with, I still don't have my answer though. I need to look it up on my own. But there was a conference, there was a company that did a fucking conference. I want to say Bethesda, maybe Bethesda, but that was the Elder Scrolls folks. That's Bethesda. There was like a dude. It was very clearly the same fucking guy. Yes. It was like, yeah, and it's like almost up to the same volume as the person who's doing the fucking speaking on the stage. Yep. And it kept on and on and on. And again, I'm not the fucking party pooper. I'm not the guy to come in and tell people not to have fun. But the more that guy kept doing that, the more I kept thinking that was not a genuine dude. I'm all in this fucking conspiracy theory of people having plants. I think that dude was a fucking plant. If he wasn't, even I, the party go fucking hell yeah, rock on, have fun guy, would love to tap that guy on the shoulder and be like, dude, you need to crank it down from like 11 down to like a 7. Like, come on, because you're being too much. I mean, yeah, every other, if not every person that was up there was getting visually and audibly like cringed a little bit, you know? Oh, man, that bugged the absolute shit out of me. It shouldn't have, but it did.
No, it absolutely should, because they are literally disrupting the conferences at that point. And it wasn't just Bethesda. I want to say that was the next one, maybe after the Cyberpunk thing.
Yeah.
And it just, like I said, it got worse as things went on. But yeah, it's absolutely disruptive. You know, it's one thing and yes, there are obviously going to be plants, and so to speak, where there are people that are going to clap for everything, but they're not disruptive like that. This is like literally interrupting someone on stage trying to talk, levels of annoyance. That's, just don't do that. Don't be that person.
I think, I forget which one it was. It was Giant Bomb or Easy Allies. Fuck, they might have been both. At different points, they may have both brought it up, but there was one where like they would say one sentence and they would fucking erupt into cackling, fucking clapping and screaming. They would say another sentence and it's fucking happened again. It's like, dude, let them get through the fucking announcement. Like, let them say some stuff, you know? And I know how that makes me sound. I really want to stress that. I'm the antithesis of that. I fucking hate a party pooper. That's the phrase I was looking for earlier. That is one of my absolute fucking pet peeves as a person. When I and other people are fucking laughing, cutting up, having a good time, but you come in and fucking squash it. I hate that. This didn't seem like that. This seemed more like one person being like, I'm going to be as absolutely loud as I fucking can and just shout. And I can get it when there's one, maybe 2 games that you are absolutely fucking fanatical about, that you are just going crazy. But when every single thing comes out and you can't let 2 sentences go by without you being like, wow, just fucking losing your marbles, that's too much. That's just too fucking much. And I see that on super rare occasions in GDQ. I've also heard GDQ putting some band hammers down, which when I didn't believe they would have to, but they run their show how they want to. I get it. I get you're excited, but you know, I feel like sometimes it's more like attention seeking than excitement. Like the runners and the couch are the prime stage. If you want to get acknowledged, fucking your donation will get read. But when you are constantly trying to talk to the people and get a reaction out of them, like, dude, you're not the center of attention. Or girl, you're not the center of attention. Let the runners fucking have their moment and just support them. Clap, shout, scream, you know, do the orb when it's time, whatever. But you'll hear it, Chris. I know you've heard it when somebody's doing a run and they're like they say something and you hear that one guy in the back be like, well, it's funny if he had the Dr. Mario hat, and it's like, oh, come on, man. They're not acknowledging you because they're trying to. It's making it out to be like they're assholes. They're not being assholes. They're trying to focus on a fucking speed run. Oh man. So yeah. I'm not saying that tarnished my entire E3 this year, but that was something where I was like, man, this is in your face bad. This is not even. This is bad. You can clearly hear it. Clearly. Yeah. Anyway, GDQ's good. All that stuff's good. Go check it out. Go donate. Go support it. So so the next one's not going to be till next year, if I'm not mistaken. We don't have a.
And I kind of glossed over this when we were talking about last week, because last year there was actually a small GDQ segment at TwitchCon, and I'm going to TwitchCon this year. So I'm waiting for that schedule to come out to see if there's a GDQ thing on it.
Nice.
Because if so, you know where I'll be.
Yep. All right, man. Yep. Sorry, news. There's nothing out there for us. At least nothing I'm interested in, anyway. Weeks. Is it you? Is it me? I think it's me.
It is you.
I feel like it's me. Perfect. All right. Well, not going to be a whole lot, period, again, but so I finally went through the rest of Yooka-Laylee, and still enjoying that. I was still enjoying that game when I played it, man. It's 3D platforming. It's collectathon, like all this stuff that I know is a tired hat. It's been done. It's been done numerous times, but I love it. It's pretty close to me as Metroidvania. I'm just a sucker for it. And as much as a love letter as this was to, games like Yooka-Laylee, I'm sorry, no, banjo-kazooie, did a really good job. I did not do any homework and go back and listen to the episode where I disavowed the game. I don't even know if it's, I don't even recall if I shit on it or if I just said, I just lost interest in it. I could see myself losing interest. I think there were control issues. I don't recall. At the end of the day, doesn't matter. I mean, it was not the first, second, third, 25th, 100th game where I went back and it took a couple tries for me to get into. Once shit started clicking, I went all the way in. I had heard some negativity toward the game when it came to quizzes, and I will tell you that is a thing in the game. There's at least, I want to say at least 3 sections in the game where it's not so much the quizzes that I disagreed with. It's more like how you went into it. It was like I felt I was going into a new area, and it was like quiz time. I was like, oh man, if it would have been geared more towards, I don't know how they would do it, but if it was like a side mission style or like an extra optional thing, that would have been great. But I felt like there were times, this was more like there were times where progression was gated by quizzes. And, they weren't super hard, but it's stuff where you had to pay attention to the game to know. I think the first and last quizzes I made through myself. The second quiz, after like the 4th time of failing, I said, fuck it, and looked the guide up. And what really sucked on that one is that when I did look a guide up to answer the questions, they only asked one new question, and I already knew the answer to that. So I didn't really need it. But yeah, and also I found this out about halfway through the first one, is that if you answer quick enough, so what it is, if I'm losing the audience at all, so you run into this new area, and instead of you figuring out what your new goal is or whatnot, you're immediately halted by one of the NPCs, and they say, hey, in order to progress, I'm going to give you this quiz. There are 10 questions on this quiz. You have 3 chances. So if you fuck up 3 times, you got to start over. And it's some random general Yooka-Laylee game questions like, hey, what was the boss of this world? Some of them, there's one where like they'll show you a picture and they go, hey, where is this picture from? If I'm not mistaken, it's all multiple choice, and all the quizzes, if I'm not mistaken, were all 3 answers. So it's not super, super hard. But yeah, I found out about halfway through the first quiz that if you answer quickly, instead of going up one space, you'll actually go up two. So if you're really quick at answering all the questions, I don't know what the threshold time is, 5 seconds, 3, I don't know. But you only really would theoretically only have to answer 5. But that, I mean, honestly, that's about the only negative thing I could say about that. And again, I was not completely turned off from the quiz. The quiz stuff didn't make me want to fucking turn the game off and never play it again. It was more like, all right, well, let me get through this real quick. I mean, damn, I come from playing, from answering quizzes in Earthworm Jim. So, I mean, it is what it is. Do I like it? Nah. Would I want it in every game? Nah. But did it like piss me off? No. So I'm glad the game is getting a sequel, and I'm glad I had some DLC. So because I actually do want more of this. Just bear with me, audience. The other negative thing about this game is when I was about halfway through the 4th world, I started to figure out that I only had one more world left and the game was over. And it was kind of sad. I was like, oh man, I want more. I want so much more. So I'll be getting more. There's a sequel apparently in the works. And I know what some of you audience are saying right now as well. I played this game so late in the process, I already had all the expansion stuff to it. Mm-hmm. So I have all that I can get out of Yooka-Laylee as with the version I have right now. Unless they release some more DLC, there's nothing more I can do. And that was interesting as well how they did it. So if I could, again, this is not a negative, this is something that I would like to see changed, maybe done differently somehow. It's good for the exploration. It's bad for me, for somebody that would like a little bit more structure. Take Mario 64 for example. You want to go to an area, and the area is clearly marked. Now, it's not with a number, it's with a picture, but you know when you go to that painting, you're going to that area. You're going to that area. And Yooka-Laylee, same thing. I mean, it's clearly marked with a number as well, but you go into the book, and you're now in the world. In Mario 64, before you get to the world, you pick what goal you want to go for. Yooka-Laylee does have far more goals to go for because their goals are the pages, and I believe every area had 25 pages. So, I mean, there's lots of goals to go for, but you don't have much of a narrative to push you to figure out where to look. So, again, for the exploration, oh yeah, it's just, here's this open area, go find pages, go figure out how to get pages. I would like maybe a little bit more structure. I don't want exactly finger pointing like Mario 64, but I want a little bit more than what Yooka-Laylee gave me, because there are many times where I was like, how the fuck do I only have 11 pages in this world? Where the fuck are the other 14? You know, where are these other ones? What am I missing?
Yeah.
And again, it's good for the gameplay and the exploration because it makes you go all the way around the place, and then but I felt like I only found like 3 or 4 more as opposed to, oh, obviously. So another cool thing about this is again, I would like this done a little different, but it was I feel like if I had played this back in the day and gotten this expansion as it came out, it would have been cool, because for me, everything was right there. So I imagine what it was like when the game originally came out is you go to an area via a book, and you have, I don't know, 8-10 pages to get. And if you get enough, there's a spot right in front of the book that says, hey, stand here. And if you have X amount of pages, we will actually unlock an expanded version of the level. The level stays the same, but it's more like blocked off areas get opened, or areas that didn't go anywhere now go somewhere. So it would have been cool if I had played this game, 2 or 3 weeks after release and then quote unquote beat the game. And then months later, all these expansions opened up. That would be pretty cool. But for me, it was I walked into an area and I got, aside from the pages that I'd already gotten from the main world, I got 2 or 3 more. I stepped outside, I unlocked it. Now I had the entire area. It was more like, just give me the entire area. What do I even need to spend the it wasn't like a, somebody correct me on this because maybe I'm mistaken. I don't know if I could see if it was, okay, these 10 pages you can get in the world standard, but your power up in this world is, say, the high jump, and the expanded areas can only be accessed with the high jump. That I would have understood. But this was more like go in there, do a little bit, come out, now you can unlock everything. I felt like pacing wise for me, it was like, okay, just just give it to me all at once. But again, not a deal breaker, just something constructive feedback I'd like to see changed somehow. If they felt this is the only thing that they could do for adding, DLC to the title, hey, fuck it, leave it like it is. It's fine. But yeah, man, genuinely, I was about halfway through the third world, maybe close to finishing it, and it was something like I was on the stats page, I was on the totals page or whatever, and looking at all the totals of the things that I collected, and just started doing some math, and I was like, wait a minute, oh man, there's not much left to go. And then I recalled, oh yeah, it's 4 and then 5. Oh, well, shit. Damn. So that's just that's a good heartache to have, though. That's a heartache because you're enjoying the content and you just want more.
Sure.
I mean, the story is wacky, silly. I mean, it's not some page turner at all. It's fine for what it is, but it's typical fare for everything else. I mean, you go through levels, you collect all these collectibles, you go to the game, you beat the final boss. The final boss, of course, has multiple forms, multiple stages, multiple phases, but I think it only took me 3 tries, and that was because I was completely fucking up a mechanic that the boss was throwing at me at the very beginning of the fight. I was surviving and doing what I thought I was supposed to do, but I was doing it the very hard, very complicated way. And I accidentally, about 4 phases in, that same mechanic combined with other mechanics showed up again, and I accidentally pressed the wrong button, and this new thing happened. And I went, oh, fuck, I was supposed to be doing that the whole time? Oh, well, if I die, I know what to do now. And it was a breeze after that for me. It's not bragging, by the way, just saying the game is, it's Yooka-Laylee, folks. We're not talking fucking Bloodborne here. I'm trying to think if there was a deal, if there was like a New Game Plus or anything. I don't believe there was. I would say percentage-wise, maybe I did about 65-ish, 70% of all the stuff that needed to be done. There are more collectibles. There are more things to do. I can't even really think of a bad collective. Okay. There was one side quest there was one pagey to collect in the snow area that it wasn't bad. It was just frustrating given the circumstance. So, an audience that has played this, you'll know what I'm talking about. I guess I should have called spoiler warning, but I don't know if I've really spoiled a whole lot. So. I don't think I've spoiled it. I don't think so. Well, if anything, spoilers for Yooka-Laylee Ice World, I guess. But if anything, listen, because maybe it'll help you prep for it mentally. But so there's a page you have to get in this vast open area of this ice cavern. You have some typical fare, you can slip on ice, you have low traction, so when you're running forward and you stop, you still slide, stuff like that. So the molecule and for those that haven't played Yooka-Laylee, every level has this NPC character that if you collect this one item and you bring it to her, she will let you use her transmogrify or transformer apparatus, and it will change you into something. Think of Yoshi's Island, where you would grab a helicopter and Yoshi would form into a helicopter, or you find the mole digging thing and he would morph into that. Same premise. You find this thing, you bring it to her, and she will let you change into something. The first world, you change into a flower. And you have to change as a flower. It's the only way that you can talk to other flower NPCs in the game. If you try to talk to them as Yooka, they're like, I don't want to talk to you. But when you turn into it, so you get the idea. And this level, the ice level, you turn into a snowplow. Like it's crazy some of the things that Yooka and Laylee will turn into, and like, wow, you really made them. They're lizards and a bat, and you have morphed them into a dump truck essentially. But hey, it's cute, it's fine, it serves the remind me to talk about the eyes, but
okay.
Yeah, so you turn into a snowplow. So scattered throughout this level all over the place are 5 snowmen. And all 5 snowmen are missing their hats. One has like a top hat, one has a cowboy hat, etc., etc. The idea being you go find all these hats and bring them back to their respective snowmen. Once you do all 5, you get your pagey. So the only frustrating part about this is some of the places had hats. So, and the way you find the hats is you'll find like a mound of snow and you plow into it and there's the hat. Some of these mounds of snow are way up above, so you got to use, you're this big ass snow plow, whereas Yooka was this little tiny lizard, so you have some tight kind of sort of specific controls, but some of these things are suspended over water. So you're going through these, platforms and winding left and jumping up on this thing. If you fall and you touch water, not only did you fall all the way to the bottom, so you got to climb all that shit again, but you lose your transformation. If you hit water, Yooka and Laylee are now back to Yooka and Laylee. So you have to run all the way back to that person, have them transform you again, go all the way back to that area and try it again. Yeah, I know, get good, yada, 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 fuck off. That was the only time in this game where I was like, oh, this is, come on. Mm-hmm. I found all of them. I brought them back. I got the pagey. Done deal. Some stuff that I didn't really get into, and I don't know why. This is the same way back in Donkey Kong 64 for me, was the arcade games. So every level has at least one arcade machine, and if you find the hidden coin in the level, you can bring that coin back to the arcade guy, give it to him, and you can play the arcade game. If you beat the high score, you get a pagey. I did that once. I don't know why. I don't know what the fuck is up with me, but like playing a mini game in a game never appeals to me. It's just something I don't care to do. And I want to say there's a larger arcade in the main hub world that has, God, I swear it had like 6, 7, or 8 arcades. Probably won't be doing that just because it's just not my thing. But there is a lot to the game. There's hidden stuff. There's the exploration. There's the using your powers to find out new shit. When you see something that's clearly something in that game, and then you finally figure out how to interact with it, how to use it, what to do with it. Challenging jumps, challenging puzzles. It's for an almost 40-year-old dude, it was fairly easy breezy for me, but it was more like a warm blanket, easy peasy. It's a genre and a gameplay that I'm used to. I enjoy. So yeah, I had a good time with it. I don't know if or when I'll go back and try to do everything. I don't know if I love it as much as Mario 64 where I could, but I tell you, as somebody that has gotten everything in Donkey Kong 64, Mario Galaxy 1, Mario Galaxy 2, Mario 64, I would not put it past me to go try to get everything. I don't know if go ahead.
Did you talk about the eyes?
Yes, the eyes. So I always wondered what the deal was with, okay, this is, you got to remember, Chris, and audience as well, I'm way late to the game. I think this game came out in like 2017. Everybody has either loved or bashed everything in or around Yooka-Laylee at this point. And I remember, I don't have quotes. I don't remember who I even heard it from, the multiple sources I heard it from. But I do recall people talking about, hey, they really play on the fact of, hey, just throw a pair of googly eyes on something. Chris, that is a fucking thing in this game. Because you will see something on the ground. It will be a traffic cone. It will be a crate. It will be a box. It will be a rock. It will be a flower. It will be, I don't know, Chris, insert a football. Insert a thing. And you will see it on the ground. And you're like, okay, whatever. And then a fucking pair of eyes will boing, 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 and click onto it. And now it's an enemy. They do that all throughout. If it's something that exists, there is a roaming pair of eyes, probably multiple sets of eyes in that vicinity, and they will run, they will bounce over to it and make it an enemy. They love doing that. And I swear I remember people having a problem with this, and I think it's fucking great. It's all the NPCs, all the enemies, if it exists, they throw eyes on it, it becomes sentient. And it worked. It worked. I just thought it was hilarious because I was like, are you fucking kidding me? It's a rock. It's just fucking boulders sitting there, and here come the eyes, and they latch onto it, and then they turn around and give you the evil look, and you're like, oh, fucking come on then. To the point of when you fight the traffic cone with the eyes, and you hit it, and you hit it, and you hit it, you separate the eyes from the cone, you destroy the cone and possibly get something out of it, and then the eyes are still there. The eyes can still attack you. Like, they go all in. They go all in. It's just, man, it's just good fun. It's all in good fun. And yeah, I enjoyed it. Had a good time. Would I recommend it? Yeah. If you like platforming, if you like 3D platforming specifically, definitely give it a try. It's fun. It's charming. It knows what it's trying to do. It knows what audience it's going for. And if Donkey Kong 64 didn't appeal to you, if Banjo-Kazooie wasn't your thing, maybe due to age, it's okay to say that. It's okay to be that way. This game is definitely upscaled. It's higher resolution. It's a more recent game, but everything else is still there. And I mean, hey, if you're the opposite, if you fucking love that, but you don't like the look of this new game, it looks too shiny for you, there is a tonic that you can take that changes the entire game to a 64-bit style game. And I'm telling you, it's faithful. It's really faithful. That is another thing of the game too, Chris. Wow, I realize I have a lot to talk about. Yooka-Laylee. I honestly didn't think I would. But there are tonics in the game. You buy these from a vending machine. Her name is Vendy. It's a vending machine that has lady lips and eyes. It looks a bit odd. I'm not gonna lie. That's the only one that's been like, okay, that's just whatever. But the idea is the more collectible. There has to be a checklist that probably I didn't even see in game. If not, there's got to be one online somewhere. But it seemed like as I gathered more collectible style items in the game, she would come across the screen and say, hey, you unlocked another tonic. Come see me if you want to check it out. And yeah, it's just a list of things that you can unlock. One gives you like one more health point. One is the 64-bit skin. One is when you eat an item that gives you health back, it gives you more health, stuff like that. The caveat is, aside from you having to find stuff to unlock these, the caveat is you can only have one on at a given time. I actually went online to find out if this has a negative effect, if it I don't know, takes away from an achievement or it gives you a shitty ending or something. I could not find anything like that. I didn't use, I used a couple. I used the 64-bit one for a little bit until I was like, all right, I've played 64 games. Let me enjoy the beauty of this game. And I forget the other one. The thing is, even if you use a tonic, they're not ultra game changers. You know, it's not double your health. It's, hey, by the time you unlock this in the game, you have like 9 points of health. We'll give you one more. Now you have 10. I mean, whoop-de-doo. That's a small edge. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, use those to your discretion. If you feel that maybe there's something you're getting fed up with, I suppose, because I think that's how I picked mine. I think there was just some mechanic. I don't know if it was breathing underwater. I forget what it was, but I used something because I was like, let me just give me some edge right here to make this a little easier. But it's not, you're not turning God mode on. And as far as my research can tell, it didn't change anything. Like I didn't turn one on and then, you know, an NPC come up, oh, you've used the bad thing. It's especially with one of them being a skin. I mean, it's whatever. Yeah, all in all, Yooka-Laylee, good game. Fun. I enjoyed it. Had a good time. So once I finished with that, I mean, this was only a few days ago, so it's kind of fresh off of that. Kind of flip-flop between brand new Steam games that I've never played before and or the backlog. So the backlog is still there. I've got 62 games listed. That's just ones that I listed, mind you. So if Chris brings up a game that I completely forgot about, that bitch gets on the log. So, but I went through Steam a little bit, just browsing around. I did try to play at least every single game that I did buy, because as if you don't know, folks, when you buy a game on Steam, you have a limited time where you can turn it in, when you can refund it. And yes, I have refunded games before, because there have been games that either one, okay, I'll take the bullet for the ones that I didn't read enough. There's at least 2 games that I have gotten a refund for, and folks, come on, we're talking like fucking $3 a game, okay? Shoot me. But there's at least 2 games that I returned because they did not offer controller support. And I'm sorry if this sounds like I'm an asshole, but if I have to go out and buy or fucking turn on Xpadder just to play your game, it's 2019, folks. Come on. Controller support. If it's a fucking controller game, controller support. But some of them, I don't know how many off the top of my head, maybe 4, maybe 5, have been flat out. And no apologies here. Fuck you. I played the game and went, wow, this is shitty. Like, whatever reason. And I refunded. But you only have a certain amount of time. Like, I think it says you're only allowed to have, you can't have more than 2 hours of gameplay. And I want to say it's 10 days after you purchase it.
I believe it's 2 weeks, but 10 days may also be right.
Yeah. So I did go through all the games that I purchased on Steam. Well, a majority of the games that I purchased on Steam, and just give them a little playthrough. You know, just to make sure if I'm interested in it, if they suit me, and yeah, there aren't any that I want to turn away from. So I don't really have a game that I am purely focused on yet. I did play Earth Defense Force, I think 4.1. I'm sorry, I closed Steam. If you want to know why I closed Steam, go see previous podcasts. But yeah, I played that for, I don't know, half an hour. It's Earth Defense Force. You know what the fuck you're playing when you're playing that. And I've heard good things about that Defense Force. It's really good. I think I saw a playthrough on Metal Jesus Rocks. That may have been where I picked it up, or some other review channel that I've watched recently. I don't fucking remember. Maybe Scott the Waz. Anyway, I checked that out for a little bit. Said, okay, Earth Defense Force. When I'm in the mood to play this type of game, it's right here. It's on Steam. Right here, access for me to play. Awesome, good deal. Another game that I played for a baby minute is God Eater Resurrection. And for those that don't know, do you like Monster Hunter? This is the Japanese equivalent of Monster Hunter. Now, I played Monster Hunter World either early this year or last year. I forget when. I know I did. I put quite a bit of time in that. 120, 130, 140 hours. I forget. That game has got legs big time. I mean, they're constantly bringing out more content for that game. There's a new expansion coming out fairly soon, if not already out. The snow, I call it the snow expansion, but I'm sure it has a name. Lots of content constantly getting updated. That's good for Monster Hunter World. I have that for PlayStation 4, not for Steam. I've really been on the fence of whether or not I want to buy the Steam version now and can just continue to play it on nothing but this on my PC, but I don't know. Mm-hmm. Seems a bit excessive. So I checked out God Eater. So I forget who. I think it was a combination between Castle Super Beast and Giant somebody in Giant Bomb have talked a really good game about God Eater. Essentially, you're a person with big ass weapons and you fight gigantic monsters. Okay, I'm already in. I'm already sold. Let me see it. So I went as far as making my character, and I played the first couple tutorial levels and just trying stuff out. And yeah, true to the word, it is basically Monster Hunter, but a different take, just a different look to it. You're still a person running around with a variety of weapons to choose from, and you have a Pokédex of giant monsters to fight and slay. A couple things that this game like pushes on you that's like, this is way different, is that one, you have the ability in this game to swap instantaneously between a ranged weapon and a melee weapon. Now, even though it's been fairly recent, I have forgotten how Monster Hunter World works, but I want to say Monster Hunter World, it is also fairly easy to swap weapons or weapon styles on the fly. So God Eater came out years ago. Monster Hunter World came out last year or early this year. But I feel like that's just something that maybe back then that was like, wow. And today it's like, we do that already. Mm-hmm. But it's in there. I mean, you have two types of slashes. You have the ability to defend yourself. You have the ability to swap to a ranged weapon. The other, I hate using the word gimmick because it sounds so bad, but the other gimmick that they have is that your weapon is essentially alive and it can feast on the monster itself. It can do it while the monster is alive or when it's dead. Much the same way in Monster Hunter World or Monster Hunter period, when an enemy is down, a monster's down, you can carve out what you need. This, you can do it alive or dead. And I think part of the gimmick is if a monster's alive and because it's a long animation to do it. Mm-hmm. If you happen to get a good chomp out while it's alive, you could potentially power yourself up incredibly and or get a really rare item. So that's there. Once I had gone through some of the tutorial stuff and, messed around fighting enemies, I said, okay, this is a Monster Hunter type game. When I'm in the mood for a Monster Hunter type game, this is here. Or I could always go back and play Monster Hunter World on the PS4. I still have that game and I still have access to the content. So if I'm in the mood for that, that's where I can go. I just don't feel I was in the mood for that because I played it for, a couple hours doing all the tutorial stuff and then I moved on.
Before you move on, How does the, I guess, hub, or does it have a hub like Monster Hunter World does? How does the in-between missions work in comparison?
Yeah, it has a hub area, and if it almost works, I mean, basically the same.
Okay.
You can go to a desk, and you can select the missions that you want. If I recall, there are 2 types of missions. There are like main story quest missions and side missions, which, again, I think Monster Hunter is just like that. There is a terminal you can go to basically change your loadout, and you can select a variety of types of loadouts. You can change, ammo types to suit the battle. You can change weapon types to suit the battle. There is a good amount of customization, I'll tell you that. The game actually tells you, and a couple of reviews that I watched as well, is that it's not just, hey, bring your big ass sword in here and learn the monster. It's also just like Monster Hunter. Hey, some of these enemies have weaknesses.
Sure.
You have to bring a hammer in for this beast because your piercing does shit. Its armor you're not doing anything. But if you bring a hammer in, you'll do more damage because you're smashing the armor away. Stuff like that. There are enemies that are weak to fire, ice, all that bullshit. So it seems like excuse me. It seems like just like Monster Hunter for me, how I played it is that you're going to have a ticket up for a new monster, and you're going to fight that monster blind, essentially. You're not going to know what to do. You're going to fight, probably die a few times, and you're going to learn what the patterns are, what their attack patterns are like, how to attack them. You may figure out if they're weak to something and all that. You're basically going to have to learn the monster before you can tackle it and move on. And that's fine. That's good. That's what are we talking here? That's fucking Dark Souls. So that's basically right up my alley.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to point out that I am playing God Eater Resurrection, which, if I understand this correct, is a remake / remaster of the original God Eater, which I also think is a PSP game originally. So I do have all 3 right now. Whenever I heard Castle Super Beast and or Giant Bomb talk about God Eater, they were mainly talking about God Eater 3. I think, right. God Eater 3 is the more recent game. Mm-hmm. And like any series that has new additions and, quality of life and all that stuff, it is probably a mind-blowing game when it comes to this type of format. I am playing the first right now. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to go all the way through the first one and then all the way through the second one and then get to the third, because let's be real. I played Monster Hunter World. I know what this game has to offer. So it's not like I'm missing out. However, I have heard that God Eater does have a fairly good story to it. So that may make me go through the linearity.
Sure.
But what I'm getting at is I feel it may be safe to recommend to anybody God Eater 3. But if you're worried about God Eater 2 or 1 being too old or archaic, don't. I think those games came out in like 2014-15 era. Think when I could just look it up.
Yeah.
So they're not that old. Original God Eater released in Japan 2010. That's 2010, folks. This is the remake, so it's considerably upgraded. Obviously, it's not on the PSP. The graphics seem to hold up for what it is. It's not. I didn't see it as horrible, but I also haven't gone and seen like an official trailer for God Eater 2 and 3 yet. Those may blow my mind and make me just leave this in the dust, but just putting that out there. You don't have to turn away from this game because it's quote unquote older. It's fine. So I'm sorry, man. I totally cut you off. What were you saying?
Oh yeah. So I play Monster Hunter World, and I don't really have an issue with the missions or anything, but the hub, I don't know. I kind of, everything felt disconnected in a way. And there's something about the weapon upgrade system that I felt like maybe there weren't enough steps to it, or, something like that. It took too long to see any sort of upgrade because of how much you had to farm each time. Instead of, a little bit of farming and then get some results and then farm some more. I don't know. It kind of turned me off of the game because I like crafting systems. I love crafting systems. We talked about this last week some too. I love crafting in games, so let me do it. But I didn't enjoy the crafting in the game. It felt too tedious, which is a little ironic when talking about crafting system, but still.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always there's a formula, and mind you, before the before the Monster Hunter audience comes at me, I've played a little, like 10-ish hours. No, I say about 15, 20-ish hours of a 3DS Monster Hunter. I think that was Try. I could be wrong. And I played through the entirety of the original known DLC Monster Hunter World. What I have heard people talk about, what I have gathered that people enjoy, and I do as well from this game, is the formula of what to do when it comes to killing bosses. Like, you're going to go out with some very basic weaponry. You're going to fight a monster. You're going to kill it. You're going to harvest shit off on it. You're going to bring that back. And then somebody's going to go, hey, I can use that material and make a new weapon or a new armor. And you're going to get the fucking numbers go up. Big numbers go big up. And you're going to take that and go out and fight a more difficult monster. Rinse and repeat. That sounds so basic. It sounds so repetitive. But especially with the later games like Monster Hunter World, the fact that these monsters have a variety of techniques, they have their own methodology in the world, their own life, they do things their own way, they have their own patterns, they have their own attack things, they have their own quirks and gimmicks and stuff. They're all interesting. Yeah, you have some baby basic ones that are not that, they're just toss-aways, but you have a lot that are like, what? How do I even approach this one? How do I get close to it? How do I attack? When is it vulnerable? When is it best to get the fuck away? When is it best to get in? All that stuff. So the meat of the game is the actual monster combat itself. But yes, there is a part to it where it's bring your shit back, get your shit upgraded. It's fun. I mean, I can't deny it. I put over 100 something hours into the game, and I enjoy it, and I recommend it to anybody. The idea of taking down a giant monster is fun. It's definitely fun. It's less punishing than, say, a Dark Souls. I think you can make equal comparisons at some points. There are some bosses, some monsters in Monster Hunter World that are, I think much like Dark Souls 1, there's at least one monster in Monster Hunter World that I could not solo. I tried and tried and tried and tried and tried and never could. But in any event, from what I see in God Eater Resurrection, it looks to be that same type of formula, and if I get the urge to play something like that, it's there. The other two are there as well. Those are sequels. They are later releases. They've got to have more quality of life additions, more options. Things have changed. Things got added. So who knows? But in general, I saw it for a couple hours. I said, okay, I know what this is. Got it. And that's really it for the game stuff, man, because I haven't really settled on anything in particular right this moment. I don't have anything that's burning in my, I don't even know what mood I'm in. I don't know what game I'm in the mood for. I come off a few RPGs. I went to a 3D platformer. Now, I don't know. I have to wait to see how the backlog or the Steam library treats me. I did watch a movie, not just Spider-Man. I watched Us. For those that have, I realize I'm a little late seeing that, but it just took me a while. Us is from the I always get his name, Jordan Peele. For those that don't know who that is, for some reason, that is the director of Get Out, which fucking love that movie. Had a great time. Would highly recommend Get Out. Us, would I recommend it? I'd say yeah, but, and I've heard many people make this statement, and I will agree. If you watch Get Out and then you watch Us, do not expect the same type of movie. For better or for worse, Get Out was telling a story. It was kind of sort of making a statement, sort of on the nose points here and there, but it did it through such great storytelling and cinematography and all that stuff. Us, different type of movie. Us is trying to be a little bit more creepy. It's trying to be a little bit more, what the fuck is going on? It had some genuinely scary moments, definitely some creepy points. I feel like there was some metaphor stuff going on as well. I watched it and went, yeah, okay, that was a movie. Did not have the same impact on me as Get Out. I hate comparing movies like that. I realize that sometimes it's a shitty way to be, but if I could recommend a Jordan Peele movie right now, I would definitely say go check out Get Out. This is a stop the podcast and go watch Get Out. It is that good. Us, hey, go check it out after. Just remember, it's not going to be the same type of movie. And last but not least, spoiler free as best as I can. Yes, I went and saw Spider-Man Far From Home last night. Okay. Chris, will you let me spoil, we'll say, the first 3 minutes of the movie? If I'm telling you that the rest of the movie is better and so much more is going to come at you, will you let me give you this little bit of kickoff?
Sure.
Okay. And for the audience as well, shoot me if this spoils the entire movie for you, but I promise you it will not. This is how excited I was when this movie started. I was already excited to see this movie. Was already happy. I've been looking forward to it. I mean, we're post Endgame for this year, and especially coming off the admitted disappointment that Godzilla was. I was really looking forward to this movie. Especially after the trailer came around, it was like, hey, ever since Thanos, other worlds have been unlocked. I was like, okay, I can't wait to see. If anything, I want to see Tom Holland as Spider-Man more, of course. I want to see Jake Gyllenhaal because I fucking love that guy as an actor. It's going to be great. And of course, they're going to do the MCU thing where they're really going to take Mysterio and treat him well. And I also want to see, how are y'all really making this new thing happen? How are y'all really molding worlds? Are you really bringing all these new worlds in? Is this genuinely actually how you bring X-Men in, or what are you doing? I won't answer the last question for spoiler reasons. Duh. Jake Gyllenhaal was fucking awesome. And of course, Tom Holland's Spider-Man was fucking great. They really play on the fact that he's a kid. They continue to do that. And it's for a reason. It's for a point. He is still a high school kid, and when these gigantic world-shattering events happen, I'm sorry, folks, aside from, I'm sure World War II veterans will tell me I'm fucking wrong, but you can't just throw a high school kid at a god destroying a world. There's so much to think of there, and this movie, just like the first one, handles that appropriately. So I'm in the theater, days going by. I'm anxious to see it, but it's a calm anxiousness. I'm just ready for it to happen. It was talking yesterday, day of. I was like, all right, I'm going to watch it today. Here we go. Got a little bit more excited on the drive there, just thinking about it. Got a little bit more excited when the lights went down and the preview started playing. And then the movie starts, and I'm like, all right, I'm laid back but excited. I'm mellow excited. Here we go. It shows Nick Fury and I forget her name, Chris, the agent that Colby Smulders plays. Yeah, her. I feel so bad. Yeah, so they are driving a car through Mexico, and there's a giant. I mean, it looks like an aftermath. And I was like, all right, this movie's kicking off. This has got to be like right after Endgame. All right, here we go. And they get out and they start walking through these ruins and they're talking. And she says, yeah, well, they said it was a giant typhoon, but the typhoon had a face. And he was like, look, they said it had a face. We're going to check it out. You know, and she's like, it could be they were just mistaken. Maybe they were delusional because of the tragedy. And he's like, no, they said a face. We're going to look into it. I'm like, oh, okay. This is not post. This is after Endgame, but this is not directly from it. Something happened here. And then a fucking giant water titan forms out of nowhere and starts fucking shit up. Or I think it was a sand titan. I forget. A big fucking titan starts waylaying shit. Seconds later, here comes fucking Mysterio flying in, shooting out lasers and holding back this monster. And he looks back at those two. And he's full costume. Got the globe on his head with the swirly cloud inside and everything. He looks back at those two and says, you guys don't want a part of this. And then, boom, that's it. The movie starts. And I looked at my wife 2 or 3 times, and I was clapping. And I said, all right, we're just fucking in. I love that these movies do this. The movie starts and shit just goes. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't have, at least in the later movies, you don't have these 20, 30, 40 minutes of, oh, I wonder what action's going to happen. It fucking kicks off. And that whole scene was maybe 3 minutes, maybe 3 or 4 minutes. But right off the bat, you got to see some CG kind of cool monster, whatever. But Mysterio, this new person you don't know about, you haven't seen yet, flies in and starts doing shit. And then the scene cuts, and the movie goes on, and that set me up for what the rest of the movie was going to be like. Lots of humor, all played out well. The action is appropriate. It's not excessive. I mean, when Spider-Man goes at points, there's a lot of fucking flashy movement, but it's Spider-Man. He moves quick. He does shit. Story is good. Story is very good. Interesting what they do with this whole concept they're going with. A lot of callbacks, Chris. And I'm talking callbacks to, oh, hey, fucker, do you remember Iron Man 1? Hope you do. Oh, you didn't? Well, here's what we're doing, and here's why it's a callback to Iron Man 1. There's like 3 or 4 points in this movie where it directly points back to shit that you have already seen. And when you start getting that fuzzy brain where it's like, what are they talking about? They fucking show the scene and you go, oh, fuck. Oh, yeah, it happens. All around good fucking time, man. Enjoyed it. Entertaining. Was not disappointed. Gave it a solid 4 out of 5. I was verging on a 4.5, but Winter Soldier, Infinity War, Endgame. This wasn't that good, but it was very good. It was very entertaining. I enjoyed it throughout the whole movie. Yeah, I recommend it to anybody. Are you a fucking MCU fan? Go check it out. Are you a Spider-Man fan in general? Go check it out. Have you not seen the first, Spider-Man Homecoming? Go check that out and then check this out. I will say, expanded universe stuff aside, what I'm really interested in now, Chris, is I really wonder if they're going to actually do and actually go forward with a Sinister Six style setting, because the last Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man, they tripped into that. They went into showing other suits and showing that, hey, this was going to be a thing. And it didn't pan out. And yeah, that sucks, but that's fine, because if the MCU is going to do it, oh, hell yeah. And if this movie is any indication of how they're going to handle the Sinister Six, both as characters and as villains, both in and out of costume, oh, fucking bring it. Give me the Spider-Man video game version of Scorpion with the fucking green suit and the bulbous ended tail, and Vulture with the fucking metal wings, and give me all that, because this is MCU doing it. I am not going to profess to know everything there is to know about Mysterio. I had a very vague understanding, but just the look alone. There's a lot of scenes where he's walking around without the helmet. That's fine, whatever. When he does put that shit on, that is clearly Mysterio. You know, that it's the typical MCU flair that they put on it, and it's handled great. I loved it. So, yeah, that finally is it for my week.
Okay. All right. Well, mine probably won't be as long, especially after our discussion last week. But before I get into 14, the other game I played briefly, because, was there a reason? Was that when maintenance was going on? I don't know. Anyway, so Mario Maker 2, I did jump into some story mode to check that out. It's basically, it's not really a story. It's kind of just, hey, complete these levels to build, the castle, and there's no, as far as I can tell, no real plot to anything about it. It's just like, yeah, the castle got destroyed, so you need to go earn coins to rebuild it. And that's kind of their gimmick to just why you're playing the levels, It's not a structured like world. You're literally doing jobs. They call them jobs. And they are rated out of 4 stars for difficulty. I don't think I've had a 4-star one yet, but even the 3 stars aren't super difficult. The star rating almost doesn't matter, because I think one of the hardest levels I played was actually a 2-star. But there was something about it that made it difficult, Like there was a part I just couldn't get. But it seems relatively arbitrary. And I had watched some other people play a little bit of it just to just know what to expect. So I had seen several of the levels beforehand. There's one that is the upside down mechanic is used. I skipped that one because I'm not looking forward to that mechanic. I will eventually do. I think my total when I stopped playing, I only played for a few hours that day, was about 25% of the castle rebuilt, which I'm assuming is 25% of the levels played, because you get coins at a set amount for completing these levels, and you get whatever you get in the level carries over, and you earn those as well. But they account for that, so I'm sure there's a set pace, and it matches 1 for 1 almost. You finish all the levels, you rebuild the castle, or whatever other things you can do beyond the castle. It's very odd to play after playing ROM hacks and playing Super Mario World. I didn't really play the first Mario Maker very much. I bought it mainly for the kids, and I never really messed with it because they barely messed with it. Excuse me, but going from Mario World to Mario Maker, the physics of the game, even when you're playing like a Mario World themed level, the physics are different because all the physics in Mario Maker are the same. So whereas the original games varied, from game to game, and mechanically they match, what they originally were like for the most part. I think there are control differences. Jumps feel different than they would in the actual game. So getting used to the controls is rough at first, but I'm sure I'll get more used to it. I am thinking about buying a different controller because I have the Pro controller, but the D-pad on the Pro controller is notorious for putting random up inputs, and that's not a good thing to have, up or down inputs, especially in a tight platforming game like Mario can be at times, especially once I get into the harder levels. And I'd heard about the ghost inputs on the Pro controller and other controllers as well, and I was like, is it really that big of a deal unless you're like one of the top tier players? Oh, it absolutely is. I'm about as casual as it gets to Mario Maker, and yeah, I was like, this controller is killing me, literally in the game killing me, because it's pressing buttons I'm not trying to press. So, but I'm looking forward to playing more of it once my 14 grind dies down. I do want to get to the story mode, kind of get used to the game and get used to the Mario Maker controls and physics. And I want to get into some of the harder levels, see if I can carry over my previous Kaizo training and play some of them, because man, Mario Maker's blown up. I was checking earlier when we started, it's kind of dipped down now, but when we started recording earlier, I pulled it up and Mario Maker was competing with League of Legends for like 5th place game on Twitch, being watched. So that was pretty cool to see, and it fluctuates constantly depending on what big name is playing it. But yeah, I think right now, wow, is there only 27,000? That's sad. It was at 60,000 earlier. I guess one of the big names either moved games or something like that. But yeah, it's blown up on Twitch. There are a lot of big streamers playing it. A lot of very hard levels getting the spotlight for difficulty. Other levels getting spotlight for quality that aren't as hard. There's one level I haven't really been following too much, but my understanding is it took the guy 5 hours to beat it, to upload it, and that's after he made it. So, very difficult level, and I don't know if anybody's cleared it yet. But yeah, so I'm not going to jump into levels like that. That's way beyond me, but there are a couple other levels I've seen played that I'd like to give a shot at, because they seem reasonable. So, yeah. Let's see, anything else Mario Maker 2. There are some neat mechanics with Mario Maker 2 that wasn't in Mario Maker 1. The biggest one probably is the on-off switches. That's something that has been in Mario World. I don't know if natively, but at least in ROM hacks and other Mario games. But it's in Mario Maker 2, and that has completely changed the dynamic of Mario Maker 2 levels in general, Kaizo or not. I saw someone in the one of the Twitch chats earlier made the statement, having on-off switches, having them now makes me wonder how we ever got by without them.
Yeah.
Because it's become such a core in the last week to these levels that are being built. It's like, how was this done before? How did we manage to scrape by without such a huge game changer? And it's absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's a lot of the quality levels you'll see are using on-off switches in some capacity. It's really neat. The dry bone shell. Go ahead.
More of this is just going to keep coming. This is what I love about, as again, being a from the side watcher of all this. Every iteration of this sequel, every new one that comes out, it's just going to add more. Not only is it going to add more Mario stuff, it's going to add more mechanics for you to, essentially for you to fuck around with. I love that. That's great.
Yeah, Sorry, I was getting a drink of water and lost my train of thought. On that vein, there's a lot of I don't want to say hype, but a lot of speculation and tense waiting, if you will, to see if Nintendo is going to treat Mario Maker 2 better than they did the first. Because while they did patch Mario Maker 1, there wasn't really any DLC. As far as I knew, there wasn't any.
Yeah.
It was just patches, essentially. Maybe a few quality of life things, but the question is, okay, here's Mario Maker 2. It's on the Switch, not the Wii U, and it's got a bigger player base, it seems like, at least on launch, than Mario Maker 1. So are they going to give this more long-term care? And as long as they do that, yeah, Mario Maker 2 it's going to be even better. And it's already miles ahead of Mario Maker 1. But if they keep adding on, keep tweaking things, like we already know there's going to be an update because they have to add the local play or friend play to the multiplayer mode instead of just random people. So we already know that's coming. So that's part of an update that they were already planning to do, I think. I mean, odds are they were. So what else are we going to get with that? You know, is that going to be patched in before we get a bigger update? How is that, you know, basically the big question, what's next? And yeah, it gives a lot of hope for the game long term instead of, you know, essentially players, the community doing things to push it further, which is always going to happen anyway. But anything Nintendo can do to help support it long term is going to be very welcome. Yeah. The other item, just to go back to what I was saying about big changes, the dry bone shell is interesting because it's, you know, the first item that lets you go in lava, not just like jump on something that's dying in lava, which is basically the most interaction you had before. You could knock an enemy and then jump off them before they sank in the lava. But now you can actually literally surf through lava riding in a dry bone shell. So, and you can become invincible for a couple seconds. So it's another interesting tool when it comes to level creation. One of the story levels actually has you in the shell the whole time, and you have to beat the level with it. And it has rising and sinking lava. So, which they put a weird color filter over it, which was completely unnecessary. That's not the point. But they have you dodging pipes, and if you're not quick enough, you'll get crushed by the pipes and stuff. And just kind of avoiding things while surfing through and collecting coins. So that's, you know, a very basic level using the surfing ability, but it's something you couldn't do before. You know, it even though it's not water, it also kind of changes the water game, if you will, if you want to treat it like water you can't swim in. So you're surfing across. It's kind of the theme of the level I was just describing. It felt more like surfing on water than lava. But yeah, still cool. Look forward to how it plays out. I know I saw a level earlier where the invincibility mechanic was used to get past saws that were moving on screen. So you were invincible, and that was the only way you could get through. So interesting. Wow. It's not as big of a game changer as like the on-off blocks, but still a neat little tool, you know. All these things add up to, some of them smaller than others, but they all add up to the bigger Mario Maker picture. All right, so on to the meat of what I've been playing. I want to say Tuesday. It was Tuesday. I finally finished the post-Stormblood expansion quests, so I was able to start Shadowbringers. Before I jump into Shadowbringers, so Stormblood, I mentioned last week that it was kind of meh overall. it got so much better. And then the post Stormblood was good as well. It's like, okay, well, just ignore like the first half of Stormblood, I guess. And from there until the post Stormblood ends, it's like, okay, this is good. This is a good story. And I don't know if I can any longer say, you know, that Heaven's Ward is plainly better than Stormblood. It's like, well, if we discount that first half, which Heaven's Ward had its own moments too of not being that great, you know, especially when we get into filler and whatnot, but Stormblood was more just kind of meh overall at the beginning. But yeah, Stormblood got so good. The post Stormblood quest, so good. And moving into Shadowbringers. Shadowbringers has had a little bit of too much filler at a couple points for me. But overall, I'm digging the story.
Good.
One of the big taglines for the marketing of the trailer, of the expansion, included in the trailer and stuff, is, you know, become a warrior of darkness or become the warrior of darkness or whatever. And when I first heard that, it was like, okay, whatever. And then as I played through the game, I was like, oh, okay, now this makes more sense to me. And then getting into Shadowbringers, it's like, oh, okay. I'm not going to spoil anything because I don't do that. But I appreciate what they've done here and how they've used that title to apply to your character, you know?
Okay.
Because they say become a warrior of darkness, and they're not just, you know, saying that. That's actually a part of the story. There's actually a reason that is applied to you. And it makes sense. This is a logical sequence of events and situations that put you here to kind of take up that moniker at times. And then there are questions beyond that this expansion is raising, where it's like, is everything we know wrong? You know, are all these assumptions we've made, all these things we've learned in the last, you know, 70 levels worth of story quests, are a piece of this just flat out wrong? And man, yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm 75. I'm basically 76. So I can go do one fate or like 2 fates and or a duty or whatever, and I'll level up so I can hit 76 and continue the story. Man, the level requirements on the quest have been killing me. I'm like, all right, story, and it's like, hey, you need a level. I'm like, but I want to know what happens next. Stop it. So it's, yeah, and yesterday, I played all day yesterday. That was my 4th of July. And I want to say I went from 71, maybe I just hit 72 to 75, almost 76 last night. So I knocked out a lot of stuff. Oh yeah. And thankfully, I did very little actual grinding. This one's paced a good bit better than previous expansions when it comes to leveling you. I have had, I would say yesterday, I played for like 11 hours. I would say maybe an hour and a half of that was leveling related. So not bad. You know, that's a solid probably 9.5 hours of just straight up story gameplay. And when I did hit, you know, the level requirement, I usually could just run around and find the ether currents and, you know, clean up maps and maybe do a fate here or there. So I didn't actually just, you know, have to go grind fates or have to go grind duties out to level. So it's a lot better in that aspect. But yeah, I can't wait to play through and finish the story because I'm really curious at this point with things they've revealed in the last, you know, levels worth of quests that, okay, well, I thought I knew what was going on, but now I'm questioning things.
for the better.
Now things are getting twisted. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the result's going to be. So I'm assuming in a positive way, but I don't know.
Well, so what I mean is right your curiosity is like, I'm interested to see where this is going, and not, oh, come on, what the fuck is happening now? A big difference.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to continuing that. Update mechanic stuff, because we talked a lot about patch notes last week. So I think it's fair if I go back and cover some of these that were really questionable or that we didn't know how it would impact the game. The biggest, well, there are two big ones. First was the stat changes they did, and the other was the trust system. The trust system, I hope they expand upon it, and I'm curious to, well, someone just ran by in a silver car. Lovely. I have my game open and idle so I can see stuff in game. Man, that was just right in the middle of my screen.
You are all in. I love this.
But yeah, so what was I saying? The trust system. Okay. The downside, and I hope they change this in the future, is that it only applies to things above level 70. Basically, Shadowbringers content is all it applies to right now. Mm-hmm. I think we knew that already. I think I even mentioned it last week that I thought that was the case, and it is. I hope they apply it to previous things because it is between that and the two new classes, the duty queues have kind of been twisting and turning. Mm-hmm. Pretty much healer is always in need, as usual, but there are a lot more tanks now with the gunbreakers, or whatever the name is, and there are a lot more DPS, which that's always been the case, a lot of DPS, but there's even more now because of the dancers. I did a duty earlier, and it was one of the 8-man ones. I was ninja. Well, I'm playing through as ninja, and then I'm probably gonna do dancer after I beat the story content, so I don't have to worry about the level requirements. But I was ninja, and there were 3 dancers for the other DPS.
Wow.
So dancer, the first day it was kind of like but then people got a chance to actually level it up because it starts at 60, I believe. So you have to level it up to be able to do the content.
I had seen an instance where my wife was in, and I don't recall if she was tanking or healing or what. I don't remember which, but there were 5 dancers. It's like, yep, that brings back memories.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to playing it. I watch the people that are in the parties and whatnot that I'm playing with in the duties, and it seems interesting. I'm really curious to see how it plays, and I don't know that I want to jump into a tank. If anything, I'll probably jump into a healer before a tank. So, but yeah, so the trust system, I wanted to apply to more, but I did go into the first dungeon of Shadowbringers with these trusts, and it was a smidge slower than it would have been with real people. There are a few things like the trust. From what people are saying, I didn't really pay attention to this because I don't know enough about their classes to really tell when they should or not, and I'm focused on what I'm doing anyway. But the trusts don't AoE, so they only focus down single targets, which really AoEs, there's always a balance between whether that's better or not than single targeting. I think in a typical dungeon, the big thing is, okay, well, pull 2 sets of enemies and then AoE them down, and that's technically faster than pulling 1 and focusing, depending on levels and whatnot, how much that matters. But I didn't have any issues. The dungeon went fine. The AI for the NPCs is smart, so they're dodging the AoEs and the attack areas of, special attacks and whatnot. You can watch them move outside of the orange little danger zone indicator. Healing, had no issue with healing. I never took hate, so the tank was doing its job. And even when I took damage from, like unavoidable boss attacks, I got healed up immediately. So it felt really good. It was a smidge slow, but I mean, I can't complain really about how it went. So that's good. And it's, that's an improvement on like Final Fantasy XI's trust system, which I like as well. Yeah. But they're not very smart. 14 has taken care of some of that.
This begs a question immediately. So if you have the ability now to do runs essentially solo, you see where I'm going. What's the preference going to be now? Is this catering to people who want to solo? Is this an alternative just for if case you can't get it to a duty? Like, what is the? I wonder, without having my hand in it, I wonder if this is going to be a detriment to the actual genuine party system. If everybody's going to be like, well, fuck it, I don't have to group up anymore. I just do everything on my own.
So here's my thought on it. I did it. It felt okay. It felt pretty good at parts. It just a smidge slow. And the slowness is what has a lot of people kind of turned off of it. But my personal preference is, okay, well, I'm going to queue up for the duty. If it takes more than like 5 minutes for it to pop, I might just pop a trust to do it,
Yeah.
Instead of waiting. I think the waiting is really what it's going to come down to. And waiting isn't really an issue for the new content, even as a DPS. I mean, there are so many people playing right now that it doesn't take long to get a group. I think the longest I've waited was maybe 6 minutes. And it was like a 5-minute estimate. So pretty much everything's had a 5-minute estimate, which I'm questioning if that's does it go lower than 5 minutes?
Yeah.
I think it does. I think I've had one show up as 3 minutes for something, but 5 minutes is typically almost as low as you see it go. So I'll wait 5 minutes. If anything, just to get that little bit of knowledge from the other players on, mechanics and stuff. Thankfully, the dungeon I did was basically a, typical tank and fight. There weren't any crazy mechanics to it that you had to know about ahead of time. So I would say that was very trust friendly, and I don't think any of the other dungeons have really been an issue, because the trusts only apply to dungeons as well. They don't apply to trials, which are typically the more difficult fights. So dungeons, you can kind of take it or leave it, I think. But trials will still have, real people to play with for those harder fights. With the slowness, I did feel like the DPS output was significantly lower, but it also could have been in part to AoEs not being done. So, I don't know. I only did it once just to research, just to be able to talk about it today. But there are more questions. I'd probably have to experiment with it a couple times and see how it ends up being, because you can also change out who goes with you depending on what dungeon it is. So, like, I have 3 dungeons unlocked, and I have a couple characters that apply to all of them. Actually, the third one is a completely different set of characters. Anyway, the first 2 have similar characters. But they also, like the first one, you have a generic tank. He doesn't really have a class. But the second one's a gunbreaker, and he's the same one as the third one. And you don't have another option for a tank. But typically, your tank and healer are determined, and then the DPS is what you can change out. one of them has 2 healers as well, so you have a choice. You can switch out your DPS or your healer. I didn't do those, so I wasn't aware of that yet. But so maybe there are ideal combinations depending on what you're playing that you would want to set the NPCs up as, which I'm sure is why all of them have 2 DPS as an option. Because if you're playing tank or healer, you need to be able to identify 2 of the others. All of these are also 4-person. There are no... No, that's interesting. Because I could have sworn, unless it's just the trial. Let me actually pull up the duty finder. I'm pretty sure there was more than 4 people. Nope, I'm wrong. Those are just the trials. Okay. So all of these dungeons so far have been limited to 4 people. And then the trial is 8, but then that's no trust allowed. So, yeah, I mean, it's something that, like I said, if the queue's long, then load it up. But if you're not doing story, then you're probably going to want to do roulette for the bonus experience. Yeah. So there's no reason to really queue up outside of story, and story everybody's doing right now. Maybe once everybody's kind of gotten through the expansion and are working on the, end game stuff, it might die down and they might be more worth having. But I think where they would shine is really for new players starting out. So I really hope they expand it to apply to the others. They would need to change some of how the system works, because you basically have a set of NPCs that are at the entrance to the dungeon, and those are the people that you're going to be able to take with you. And you don't have, I don't think in all of them, maybe they are all there, and I'd have to go back and look. But I don't think there are, 4 people with you at every dungeon you get to, 4 NPCs, I should say, so that you had those to pick from. So I don't know what they have planned. I don't know what they've said, but I hope they extend it. And I would like to see more trust stuff for just around the world, for fates and stuff. That was what I really liked about 11's trust system. There were very few places you could not use them. You could take them just about anywhere. So that really helped with just going through the game as a whole. That said, it's also structured quite a bit different than 14 with quests and dungeons and trials and all that. So it's really hard to make the comparison in other than a broad sense.
Yeah.
The other big change was stats, and I'm kind of lumping this together with all the changes they made to the jobs as well, because they're kind of related. Excuse me. Because when you take away or adjust stats like taking out strength, dexterity, etc. for materia, and taking away other things aside from your equipment still has dexterity, vitality, etc. in my case, but they've lessened the need for it and kind of made it exclusive to equipment.
Yeah.
But they've also rebalanced, and by rebalanced I mean basically boosted damage on everything.
Wow.
I'm sure you're familiar with the play guide, the Final Fantasy XIV play guide, their website where you can go in and see all the abilities for jobs and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually pulled that up, and this is if you're an existing player and you want to know, okay, what changed after you update, pull up this play guide, and they tell you. They have it's color coded by what's updated, what's new, and they also have a little thing you can hover on that says revisions, and it'll tell you specifically what changed. So if you're like, okay, well, how did this ability change? It's like, oh, okay, now I see. So like my basic level 1 attack for ninja or rogue at level 1, the potency was 150. It's now 200. So the very first attack gets a 50 potency increase, which in the grand scheme of things isn't a ton, but it's one of my most used abilities because it combos into everything else, you know.
Right.
So, other things, 200, 250, 140 to 150, but you know, has other effects. 240 to 340. Okay. 400 to 500. All right, now we're getting to bigger jumps by 100 or jumps by 80. And it's weird because it almost feels like nothing changed in a sense. Because I feel like they kept the balance very close to what it was before. So I don't feel like I'm doing a ton more or a ton less. I feel like, okay, this is about where I was before. But I've also, you know, gained new abilities, and I'm overall stronger, of course, as I level. I'm getting better combo things to use. But they also did take away a couple things and shifted things around, which some are okay, some aren't. It's kind of funny, a quick aside. I was going through the play guide looking, you know, what changed, and I was going through the ninjutsu, which for those that don't know, to execute ninjutsu, you have to hit your mudra, which are your ninja actions. You know, think Naruto, the hand gestures, and those combo into the ninjutsu you can use. Well, there are a couple I really never used. Because there's, you know, one that you always want up to make you, it reduces your timers by 15%. So you always want that one up. But then the other one, it's like, okay, well, I have one attack, has a potency of 400, so I'm going to use that. And that's the only other ninjutsu I'm going to use, other than maybe the AoE one, you know, if there's a group that I want to AoE. But there are like 3 or 4 others that I have available. And like, well, one of them's just an ice and it has a bind, but bind's not super useful in a lot of cases, and it's probably ineffective on bosses, so it's worthless in that sense. And it's not as potent as my, you know, thunder attack. So I'm just going to use the other attack. It's way stronger. Why would I bother? Which I still don't care about that one. But I was looking through, and there's a water one, and I was like, okay, this is super weak. Let's take a look real quick, okay? My lightning attack has a potency of 400. The ice attack has a potency of 140, which is less than half, so that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But it does get bind, which, again, like I said, I don't really care about. And then there's the water one, which is 130 potency, which is 10 less than the worthless ice one. And then I read, oh, I can use trick attack after using this because it basically hides me. So I'm like, oh, well, this just completely changed the way I play the game. And this wasn't an update thing. This is something that was in the game before the update. And I just never read it because they never told me anything about it. They actually nerfed the damage on that too. It was 180. They dropped it to 130. I think that's one of the only nerfs I've seen. But the duration is doubled, which doesn't matter. It's 10 to 20 seconds. You're probably going to do it immediately after. The only time the duration matters is if you're suddenly having to avoid a boss attack that takes you out of range. But yeah, being able to trick attack has completely changed the way I play ninja. And it's made it really hard to gauge, how much the balance change impacted because I'm completely changing the way I play and do more damage automatically. So, they did take away, let me see if they actually give the name of it because I always forget and get it wrong. It's like, not diversity, duality, I want to say. Where it let you basically any of my attacks, my weapon skills that hit, it would do a second hit. So it's basically a double damage attack. And supposedly the level 80 ability they added kind of replaces it, but I'm not 80 yet, so I don't know. But taking that away was a little disappointing. And I totally just realized that 3 levels ago I got a new ability I haven't used, so that's the thing. Man, it's
well, I mean, dude, come on, man. In your defense, you are kind of sort of trying to plow through a lot. You already have everything you've already done up to this point fed into you, and now you're ingesting this new information, and you don't. It's not like you're on your second year of getting all this. You're it's a lot.
Yeah, I meant to actually go back and look at my time to see how long it took me to get up to Shadowbringers, but I was too busy playing the game, so...
Yep, that's all that matters.
I haven't done that yet. But yeah, so the balance changes have been interesting, and based on what I've seen people chatting about, in the FC and stuff, and just in general, it looks like overall there are a couple questionable ability changes for, I want to say Bard had some changes that people aren't happy about, but I haven't really seen a lot of complaining because people are just too busy playing the new stuff right now. I'd be curious to go on the forums and actually read through some of the other changes and people's thought on them as far as ability stuff. But yeah, they changed up a ton of stuff, so it's not quite as bad as relearning how to play a job, but it's like, okay, well, what does this change? Like really the biggest annoyance for me as a ninja is they made one of my attacks, Shadow Fang, it doesn't combo anymore into the 3rd tier. It's a 2nd tier ability still, but it doesn't combo. So it's like, well, okay. So I have to determine now, when I want to reapply that, because it's the damage over time debuff. And I have to remember just to hit the right button. Because I had a pattern, I had a set pattern to my attacks. Actually, it was a 3rd tier. It was another 3rd tier before. So I'd be like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 5. I just cycle through my things one after another. And that timing worked out pretty well. Sometimes tap in another 4 attack. But now I'm having to use my weaker weapon skills more often, if that makes sense to... I miss out on a tier 3 every 20 seconds or however often I want to reapply the debuff. So it's, after grinding through, it's really hard to retrain my fingers. I don't want to move my icons around to kind of adapt to it, because that's just going to make it worse.
Well,
the hotbar suffers if you move things around.
I can speak to this a little bit. So whenever I ran through mine as a Dragoon, that was my main. I love that class. I had such a great time with it. This is something that I'm so sure, like World of Warcraft veterans, or even maybe a long time. Actually, you'd be able to answer. You'd be able to tell me if this was a thing or not back in Final Fantasy XI. But so I was in 14, roughly a month or two after initial launch of A Realm Reborn, and played all the way through that content. And I don't remember who it was that I don't remember if it was an online video, or it may have been somebody like in the game just like kicking my shit in and being like, dude, your damage sucks. You need to get a rotation. I mean, it's like almost essential that you do, because you're just kind of, using your abilities and I understood it. It made sense after I sat down and thought about it and did the workout and go, yeah, there's like a sequence that I can do all this shit in. And that's essentially a fucking rotation. And I used that rotation. I only changed it up once or twice here or there. And we're talking about doing story content, doing side content, doing raids, high-end raids, all that stuff. I only did very small changes, like maybe swap 2 icons around because somebody was checking it out and, gave clear, solid advice on what to do. And then the expansion came out, and all that changed because Dragoon was the limelight of that expansion, and you got new abilities on top of all the gear and all that stuff getting changed around. Balancing, all that stuff came around, and I had to remake and relearn an entirely new rotation. And this one was different. I almost had it was like it went up main ways through one. I could just hear Dragoon fiends just screaming right now, he's talking about rotation, mine's the best, whatever. But the new rotation I had to learn kind of went up one path, and depending on a situation or depending on maybe even points available, I forget, it could split in either 2 or even 3 ways, I think. And that's essential for almost any DPS, damn near almost any class. I could see healers maybe not so much, but yeah, you gotta, when shit changes, when abilities get balanced, when gear comes out with new stats and all this good stuff, you have to learn new rotations. And bruh, I explore the controller, okay? No, I played controller. I never moved to mouse and keyboard. And I guess for button pressing, that may have made it easier. But especially on that second developed rotation, oh yeah. We're talking press all the buttons and then press and hold 2 buttons to bring up a new wheel. Press all those, but oh yeah. And yeah. Was that a thing back in 11? Did that ever come about in 11?
So 11 was different than a lot of other MMOs because it had menu-based stuff. You had macros you could set, but they were very, especially early on, it's better now, but it was very basic. And the macros were pretty limited to where it's all right, this is my cure macro. I target and hit the trigger and make sure it's highlighted and then execute it. It was very simple. I actually liked that because I had menus to go through and select, so it was a lot more controller friendly. I've used the controller in 14 a little bit, mainly together while I was doing something else and needed my keyboard on a different input because I got tired of switching back and forth or only using the mouse to do things. So I figured out how to use the controller with it, which was very annoying finding that switch because I didn't realize the stupid character settings were different with the input. But anyway, so I play 11 with a controller. I always have and I always will. 14, I would probably need to try maybe when I level another job, not ninja, so I don't have to retrain myself. But maybe starting fresh on another job on controller, I'll try that and see how I like it when it comes to combat. Because I feel like I would like it more for the movement aspects, because I like, dual joystick movement. It feels a lot better than the mouse and keyboard movement. But the actual execution of abilities is where the question would be. And I think part of that will absolutely depend on the rotation. But even gathering, it was okay, well, this is, the ability to increase my chances. Then this is the one that increases HQ chance. And then this is the one I hit to guarantee my next hit, because it's the 5th chain or whatever. So I only had 3 buttons I really had to typically use. Yeah. Unless I was using a different ability to search for the level 50 nodes on my minder. Which have their own little thing. But from the start, I've never really been a huge fan of 14 with a controller. Even from the beta days, wasn't a huge fan.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, and again, I'm only speaking from the majority of my experience being Dragoon, lull Dragoon. I hear you all, I know. I was able to keep, and I'm not bragging, I'm just saying what I know it's capable of. I was able to keep up with all my rotations proper. I had, excuse me, and I'm sorry, I don't have the rotation in front of me. It's been years since I played, so I can't regurgitate all this down to a number level. But I know the last rotation that I had a couple moves in there that were like a quarter second specific. Like you had to do all these 7, 8, 9 moves perfectly timed, because if you didn't, you were going to miss one of the abilities, because it was just going to skirt by you. And I got good with all that just fine on a controller. I would say that the advantage could be that, and again, I don't know, I'm speaking on my ass, I haven't done it. So if I go to Google right now and I hold the K button, it's just going to constantly throw Ks out there. I think that ability extends, or that feature extends to Final Fantasy. If not, I guess you just have to keep pressing the button up and down. But if it doesn't, if you can just hold that fucking button down and your ability will pop, then that obviously would be the advantage. And my counter to that would be, well, hell, just get a damn turbo controller. I would think that would do the same thing. All I know is I held my own with a controller just fine. And I agree with you. The same exact thing, man. I love dual stick movement in this game. It's the controller and the system, like everything that they've done to accommodate 14 around a controller setup is very nice. I mean, they have gone out of their way. They have definitely made some quality of life improvements that have added to the controller setup. So I'd say they're both there for you. Which do you prefer, mouse and keyboard or controller? If you whatever your preference is, you got it covered.
Yep. So I'll play around with that a little bit more. Let's see. Man, I just looked over at the recording. This has flown by. 2:45 already. Jeez.
Yep.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of the notes, some other things. Oh yeah, the leveling the quest level sync, or the quest sync down to you. It was a little odd because pretty much every quest shows that it's syncing down. I'm assuming they are the weighted quests that sync down, but they all say they sync down to 70, which when seeing that, it's like, well, I don't want level 70 experience for all these. You know, I want in between experience. I want level 75 experience when I'm level 75. But that doesn't seem to be the case. So the experience you get syncs to you. So at first is 200 and whatever thousand. Mm-hmm. Right now, these quests are giving me 330,000, and it goes up when I level. So it seems to be properly done. I've really been trying to skip as many quests as possible in the new areas so that I can use them when I level Dancer, if that's what I level next. I want to have those available to me. But the ones I've done, it has been a big help with being synced. I didn't have to worry about, what zone am I in. If it's a synced quest, it should be, I'm trying to look and actually see if I only have quests in one zone right now, so I can't look and see how they compare between zones. But I believe the experience was the same between zones as well. So they are truly synced in that case, which is good. You don't have to worry about out leveling your quest and then, not wanting to complete them because they don't give you as much as the ones in the zone you're in. But then there's reasons to do the other ones, like the ether currents and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, as far as I can tell, well done. Another great quality of life change.
Yep. Which we've highlighted that before. They're great at, man. They will hit you with stuff that you're asking for, and they'll hit you with stuff you didn't even know you needed until they do it. They're really good about that. this is another comparison to World of Warcraft. I'm sorry, but I just don't know because I haven't played it. But the live letter shit that they do in 14, because they highlight a lot of those things in addition to the patch notes. I mean, that's awesome. You'll see something in that. They'll be like, oh, yeah, by the way, we heard a lot of people complaining about machinists, blah, 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 blah. So we got this change coming in and people will lose their shit. It's like, wow, awesome.
Yeah. Speaking of quality of life, the new crafting screen, I talked about how they changed that to where it shows you how much you'll go up when you either increase quality or increase progress. And it changes depending on your buffs, depending on your equipment, all this on the fly. If you get a buff like the inner quiet buff, which all the crafting classes have, every time your quality increases, how much you can increase your quality goes up. And so you can watch it tick up, so there's no more guessing. You can tell exactly how much it's going up. Same thing for progress. It's like, okay, 100% progress is going to get me 54 points. I need 55 to complete the progress on this, so I need to use the thing that gives me over 100% or 100% things, you know.
That's such good mental food for your fucking crafting brain too, just to see a meter go up that's directly influencing your crafting. I mean, just a gameplay mechanic. That's good to see.
And that same screen where you have your little bars where you're crafting, you can hit this little arrow in the middle and it'll expand down and show you larger instances of all your buffs you have active.
Wow.
So instead of having to look down by your name or look up by your name, depending where your UI's laid out, mine's been adjusted. Real tangent. Real quick, I was watching a couple people play 14, and I was like, hey, their UI is different. And I was like, I like this. I'm going to take this and move this over here. Yeah, I like that one. Like, I don't quite like this that they did, but it's got the right idea. So let me add on to that. I love the UI changes. And I'm still evolving over time to where I want things.
That will happen.
I have all but one bar on my screen right now.
Wow.
So
Chris, it got so bad that because I was playing 6 total characters, that every time I would adjust and maneuver all of my screens, I would have to pull the screen up, pull the overlay up, screenshot it and save it, and then cascade all those down to the other characters. And you know what? There's a couple times where I was doing that, saved my ass. I don't remember what happened. I don't remember if it was a hard drive blew or my profile got fucked up or what, but when you lose your AI setting and you cannot recover it and you have to do it from scratch, oh my God. Yeah, I'm sure files are much safer than they were back in the day, and it could have been just completely subjective, but I remember logging on and then having my UI was all the way back to square fucking one. I was like, what the fuck? And yeah.
Oh, wait, there's a completely new screen I completely forgot they added. The Fates. I don't quite know.
Fates.
Yeah, I don't quite know so they added a Fates new currency called gemstones, and this is only in the new zones, of course. But I've only looked at one of the NPC stuff, and didn't seem interesting, but I also don't have a high-level crafter, which it seemed like the one I was at was geared towards. I was like, okay, well, let me see if they have equipment. They had none. So I need to go through the other, major cities in the expansion and see what all they have to offer. But there's a thing that shows you how many of the fates you've completed in a zone, unique fates. I don't know if it's all of them or if only certain ones count. Don't know. That's a whole basic mechanic I haven't started touching yet.
Wow. Nice.
So, I mean, I only do fates when I need a level, and that's only as few as possible.
Yeah, I was big in the hunt scene back in the day. I had all kind of macros set up and all kind of shit like that. I was always a helpful hunter. Like I had multiple link shells or are they link shells? Shit.
Yes.
Wow. I had multiple link shells that were solely for hunting. When I found a monster that I was hunting, I would shout it in the zone. I'd have a macro that shouted it, said it in the party, and put it to all my link shells. Like, that was the thing.
Yeah, I haven't even touched hunts.
Yeah, well, back in the day, I don't know what they're like now. I don't know how prominent they are or how like helpful they are, so to speak. But back in the day, that was like a decent, a fairly good alternative, a non-boring alternative to whatever else you use the hunt stuff for. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned before, there's so many systems I haven't even touched. I haven't touched any of the Alliance stuff, which I don't even know what it is, but your wife actually has mentioned a couple times, hey, you might want to go do some of this. And I'm like, I will. I will. I just... Story.
Yep.
Story. Let's see, was there something else I was saying before that tangent? Crafting. Oh yeah, before the UI. Yeah, so it's a bigger thing, bigger icons, and it has like the name and stuff on the crafting screen. So it's, yeah, overall another quality of life thing. So you can clearly see everything, see the little numbers for how long, how many more turns, or whatever they're called, steps, how many more steps your thing will last. I'm trying to think. I still don't know how all the pet changes work and impact classes. I will say that the companion is unaffected by these pet changes completely. There are 0 changes to the companion that I've seen. So that's good. Hopefully the pet classes or jobs aren't negatively impacted. I haven't seen anyone complain about any of the things, so don't know. But hopefully it's okay. I noticed that the challenges, they changed a couple of them. One was get the highest possible rating, which basically just complete the fate in 5 different regions. That is now just complete 5 fates with the highest rating. So you don't have to go from zone to zone any longer, which is great. The other one was complete 10 unique fates, which still had you going zone to zone a little bit, but not as bad. You know, there's 4 or 5 in one region, depending on the size of it. So you can kind of go through a couple regions to get that one.
Yeah.
But they've just made that complete 10. So now the challenges are 5 and 10 fates, and you're done. So that is good. Makes it a lot easier to do. And I completed the 5 one without even realizing it because I didn't know that change was in place until yesterday, because I don't normally do fates. But I was running around one zone doing them over and over to try to get that last bit of experience I needed. And suddenly it's like, hey, you completed the challenge. I was like, I did? Okay. And I actually went and read it and saw these changes. So, yep, lots of quality of life changes, and there's so much more I haven't even touched, because of playing. The lack of TP, like I mentioned, I don't care. Hasn't impacted me because I mean, if anything, it just made it easier. But I didn't struggle with TP before.
Yeah.
It is weird seeing my ninja have 10,000 MP, though, when I use 0 MP.
Yeah.
But, whatever, It'd be nice if they hid the MP bar and just made your HP bar bigger or something like that to compensate. But, whatever. It's more amusing than anything. It has 0 impact on the game. For me.
I remember when... our class, like other DPS classes and other classes, period, like Dragoon, tipped over 10,000 because that was like breaking the 10k HP was like a tank thing. There used to be like a thing between paladins and warriors who had the most HP, yada yada yada, and like what it takes to break over the 10k, and then months and months and then expansion or whatever later, and then all the DPS. It just felt weird. Now it didn't really mean shit, because again, at this point, if we had 10,000 HP, tanks still had like 17, 18, 19,000, but it was always weird just to start seeing these large numbers, and I'm like, wow, this is it's going up.
For the audience, just to see how much things have changed with all the expansions, and especially this one, there have routinely been jumps where I was like, wow, I suddenly have a lot of hit points, because all of a sudden I got 200 more points in a skill or whatever, or vitality, that just jumped me up. My max HP right now, 63,951.
Wow.
It's kind of funny because it doesn't matter. Things are balanced to where whether I'm doing something synced down to 20 or I'm doing something at 70, it feels the same, because it's kind of the damage I'm taking is still, if you look at a percentage amount, it's still roughly the same.
Yeah.
So the game is so well balanced that it kind of blows my mind at times thinking about this. Like, I didn't notice I had 63,000 hit points because the game has felt the same as when I had 20,000. It really only matters if I'm doing, lower level content, especially solo or something, At doing current level content, it feels the same. So it's very well scaled out. I think the other big change, I say big, use that term loosely, was the limit break change, because they tweaked the way it filled up, and it seems slower.
People talking about this, like limit break was going to change somehow, but I didn't follow the details.
Basically, everything that increased the gauge went down, but because all of our damage went up, it seems to have compensated very well. Again, great balancing. It feels just as fast. I haven't seen an instance where I went, man, if only we had the, pre-Shadowbringers rate of limit, we'd be beating this boss. It's like, okay, well, here's our limit. We can use it. It's available when we need it. As long as we don't be stupid with it, like the guy that was in a dungeon yesterday spamming it on normal enemies. But,
You know who you are.
I held it in. It was a long dungeon, but yeah. Thankfully, it's just a roulette, so it didn't matter. But
yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, that seems to have been a non-factor essentially. They're making these changes smartly, and good for them. It's good to see. It's always scary when a MMO goes through sweeping changes like this.
Mm-hmm.
So it is very, very good to see a organization taking the time to do it right and to put this much effort into making sure it stays balanced. And yeah, they've nailed it as far as I can tell. I think I've ranted enough about 14. I think that's all the big stuff. Next week I'll have the story done. I hope.
Yeah.
The level requirements seem to get scary at the last couple levels because it keeps jumping, and of course the experience you get jumps, but there's only so many challenges and dailies to do.
Yep. At the end of the day, again, expansion's out, you're finally in it, you're playing it, and you're enjoying it. That's the great thing. What I'm interested to know from your perspective is that now that you have went through all this stuff, what you're doing now, do you feel like what you've been doing as far as all the content and all that, do you feel like it's all been paying off for you? As far as the story content, you've been able to keep track with everything, like all the little breadcrumbs are laying out there. You're at least getting a lot of story payoff.
Yeah, I would say my biggest struggle at times is keeping up with the names. But because they're written everywhere, it's a little easier to. Oh my God.
Yeah, it was the same with me, man. About halfway through the first expansion, I was kind of starting to lose the thread because a lot of names, a lot of stuff. But yeah, it's also good though, because they're giving you a lot of shit. And as you said, that you have attested to as well, that shit gets better. Like, this story gets better over time. They just get better at storytelling, and I mean, voice acting, all that stuff. And that's so good. Of course, this is from Final Fantasy. This is from that team. It fucking better be.
Yeah. Shadowbringers is quickly, if it continues, it may take the mantle of, the best expansion.
Nice.
So.
Well, I'd say I guess that's it for your week.
Yeah.
And as such, as we are now cresting over the 3-hour mark, I'd say that's a good enough place to end tonight's episode. So what about you, audience? Let's focus towards you in the MMORPG area. How are you in this area? Do you like RPGs at all? If you do, have you thought about MMORPGs? Have you played any? I really want to hear from those that haven't. Like, if you're that person that, I've seen World of Warcraft stuff, I've seen 14 stuff, I just don't know, tell us what your hesitations are. Because there is a wealth of content there for you. And if your hesitation is, I don't want to focus on one thing, I completely sympathize. But if it's too much, it seems like it may be too rough to get into, I can tell you definitely from 14's perspective, don't be. There is a generous amount of early game content, and all that content eases you through everything you're looking for, be it main story, be it your job, be it how to just function in the world. Like, it seems daunting. It will seem daunting, but the game itself, once you actually start playing it and going through its motions that it's set for you, you'll find out, no, it just takes time. You'll get there. Any MMORPG talk that you folks have at all? If not, fine. What have you been playing this week? Did you see the new Spider-Man movie? Are you interested in Marvel Cinematic Universe post-Endgame? Are you interested in where it's going? Do you think this was a step in the positive direction? Like, what are you looking forward to? Anything, gaming, movie, anime, comic, whatever you want to talk to us about. We love to hear from our audience. We love to have conversations with you and talk about gaming stuff that's on your mind, especially. And there are many ways that you can get a hold of us. You can go to Facebook and search for End of Time Cast. It should be hopefully it'll take you right to our page. You can post on our page, send us a message, and it may be found how you found this episode right here. We have an email address. You can email us at endoftimecast@gmail.com. That's endoftimecast@gmail.com. No funny numbers in there. Just spell it as you heard it. We have our Twitter page. You can tweet us. You can retweet us. You can go to YouTube and search for our entire library of episodes that are converted to video and uploaded to YouTube. You can listen to them there. You can leave comments. At this point, you should be able to go to Google and, in quotes, type in End of Time Cast, and hopefully it'll take you to one of our many upload sites, which also offer many more ways for you to listen or download or comment and talk to us. So yeah, that's going to do it for tonight's episode. And until next time, I'm Michael.
And I'm Chris.
Good night, everybody.